Welcome back to He's a Giant, a pod about the New York Giants 2026 NFL Draft. I am your host, Sal, with my co-host, Monty. What's going on, man?
Going on, man? Excited to talk about this draft class. That was a very fun draft. For the majority of it, was very happy with how the Giants worked out, and I'm excited to kind of break these players down because I think that there's a lot of excitement and just like every player is going to be awesome right now. That's kind of where we're at. Everyone's just watching highlight tapes, including me. But it's also nice to kind of take a step back and be like, how would we look at these guys if the Giants didn't draft them? They're just any other player.
Yep. So you guys have probably already heard a lot of the draft stuff from other pods, from Spaces, from the timeline. So we're not going to belabor every little thing you've heard. Just to give you a preview of the episode, we're not going to go through a full deep dive into every single prospect. I think you've heard that, but we're going to give you our grades. We reviewed film on all these guys again, and we're going to just kind of quickly summarize and grade to just stack them up with the rest of how we graded people. I think we can touch a little bit on the status of the roster now in the depth chart post draft, and see where we are and see where things are shaking out, what the team looks like, and what it looks like they're trying to do. So before we jump into the draft, like we always go through Giants news, and the news is the search for D tackles is on this morning. We got news that we got word the Giants did sign Shelby Harris. Excellent signing, in my opinion.
Yep.
Older veteran, 34 years old, coming from the Browns. Got a veteran who's been around the league for years and years. Solid three tech, who in his heyday was one of the better three techs in the NFL. Now he's still a solid run defending three tech and still has the ability to one gap and rush the passer, but not quite like he did 5 years ago. But anyway, you slice it, a significant upgrade in the D tackle room. So let's start with your thoughts about Shelby Harris.
It was a needed signing, man. It's a case that I made going into this draft where I didn't think that we were going to necessarily solve our interior defensive line needs through the draft. You could have made a case that, Caden McDonald or Lee Hunter, or whatever, you could have done something in the second round. But I think, you look at wide receiver in free agency, you look at cornerback in free agency, there's really nothing there. But you look at the interior defensive line, that there's some guys there. They brought in one of them. I think that's a really good grab for the three tech. There's another guy we'll talk about who, we've been promised over and over, but seems less of a promise. But we need our nose tackle, and that's DJ Reader. So we can talk about him in a second. But yeah, I think it was a good sign. It was a good signing. Browns fans were unhappy to see him leave, which is always a good sign. I think it's a quality NFL starter.
Yeah, I mean that's how you look at it. He's 34, but some people are not happy with it or downplaying it. I mean, the guy still gives you 500-600 snaps a year, which is what you want from a three tech who's probably going to rotate in and out at his age. You're not wanting him to give you 800 snaps. That. By the way, that 800 snap stuff was very much a Giants thing and not a normal thing. That was what they did to Dexter Lawrence for years and years because they had nobody behind him. In a normal team, even the best D tackles don't push more than like 700, 750 snaps. So like the video for DJ Reader. Let's get to that. So before we go to DJ Reader, the Giants just made a signing in the last hour or so. They signed free agent Leki Fotu. Was most recently on, I believe, on the Texans and the Raiders. A large human being. He's about 330 pounds, 6'5", I believe. Not a guy who's played a ton of games. He's only started 26 career games, only 10 in the last 2 years. Was a fourth round pick, I believe, out of Utah. I think his calling card was always being a run stuffer. He's a Polynesian with his hand in the dirt. I always appreciate that. I want them to be happy and be where they belong. So Leki Fotu, our newest Polynesian addition to the Giants. And I do appreciate John Harbaugh's understanding that we need as many Polynesians with their hand in the dirt as possible on this team. It's something we've been lacking for years. But do you know anything about Leki Fotu?
No, I don't know anything about Leki Fotu. I see that he was a fourth round pick in 2020. That was before we were doing this show. I probably know more about him if we were doing it at the time. But I think the way I take it is he's going to be camp body depth with an opportunity in a shallow D line room for a chance to win a spot in the roster. That's really, I think, all it is.
It's hard to make much of his 215 snaps between two teams last year, but he has some pretty crappy, like in the red PFF grades all around. I'd have to go into like watching film on him to get a better feel for it. His career at Arizona for the first 4 years, I think, then the Jets for a year, and then last year bounced around. He's kind of a journeyman D tackle at this point, and hard to imagine he's the plan. He's a body that they're throwing at at the situation, but we should get to the main issue here. Harris was supposed to be one of two big additions to the D tackle room because of the way the draft transpired and because of the loss of Dexter Lawrence. And it seems like the philosophy of the organization is we've lost Dex, we can't replace Dex, but we need to get competent all-around D tackles in that room, D linemen, nose tackles, who are going to put their hand in the dirt and two gap and occupy space to take away easy rushing lanes and allow their linebackers, and we'll get to this incredible linebacker core the Giants have now created, to allow the linebackers to do their thing. So the guy that we've all been kind of promised now, and I think it's here to say that, is DJ Reader from the Bengals and the Lions. Clemson graduate, 31 years old, solid nose tackles, one of the better nose tackles in the NFL, honestly, in terms of overall skill set as a run stuffer, pocket pusher, just a traditional solid nose tackle. I bring him up for a couple of reasons. One, we've been seeing reports from all over that the Giants are expected to sign him. He's expected to sign with the Giants. Paul Schwartz put it out there last week.
Yep. He said he's going to sign, like he said he's going to sign with the Giants, essentially.
Right. And the part that bothers me the most about this is that Jordan Schultz pulled out tonight that the signing Leki Fotu doesn't affect the Giants' pursuit of DJ Reader, who they still are in on, but that they have a lot of competition for him. All of a sudden, it's up in the air. If that is the case, one that could be, that's the case when you play the comp game and you wait till after the draft. That's part of it, right? 2 weeks ago today, actually, no, 2 weeks ago on Monday, the worst graded general manager in the NFL, D+ Joe himself, got up on stage before Dexter Lawrence's fate was determined. This is before the trade, before the draft. When he was asked about the D-line room, he specifically said, we're talking to free agents. Like we have a lot of solutions we can go to. And he specifically name-dropped DJ Reader. He's like, like DJ Reader. One, I don't think I've ever seen a general manager do that, ever. Like talking about an unrestricted free agent who you have not yet signed in a situation like that. I've never heard a GM talk about a guy like that as if he was signed in the building, followed by all the reports that he was basically signed and in the building. If they don't execute on signing him now, that looks so ridiculous. To me, it looks like you just handed the guy a bunch of leverage and you told the whole NFL, here's what our plan is. We're not doing it yet, but this is our plan. If I were his agent, I'd shop the hell out of that and say, yep, I got a big offer from Joe Shane. I have 2 weeks until they're going to sign me until after the draft. So why don't you beat it? Feels like that's the situation we're in right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I'm not raging as much about it as far as the Joe Shane stuff, but I do agree that that he definitely handed them some leverage for sure. I think that from the sounds of it sounds like it was basically done. It sounds like they had agreed in principle, and what you mentioned was the comp formula stuff, and they waited till after the draft, which I don't blame them for doing. You're not going to give the free pick, but suddenly a bunch of new teams enter the fold at that point because they're looking at the same thing. They're looking at their team post the draft, and they're saying, hey, this is going to affect the comp formula, and DJ Reader is a hell of a good football player. And I think the most important part is it's going to look bad on the Giants and Joe Shane if you don't get him at this point, especially after trading Dexter Lawrence. I mean, that was another point in just handing them leverage because, they need him now. They desperately need him. That honestly probably played the biggest role in them coming back and wanting to push them more is they traded their all-pro nose guard. I hope,
and didn't draft his replacement in an early round where you feel confident saying we have a built-in solution for sure.
So I hope they just pony up and pay him. I'd be happy to give him a couple years. Like I still think he's a good football player. He's not even 32 yet. He's going to be 32 this year. you take it for what it's worth. PFF had him graded as their highest rated free agent interior defensive lineman. Despite acknowledging that he hasn't quite matched his peak form that he was in Cincinnati, saying he's never had a PFF pass rush or run defense grade below 60 in his entire career. Still was a good run defender this past season. It's pretty clear to me DJ Reader, although isn't the fantastic player he once was, is still an above average football player, and he's a great fit, and he's exactly what the Giants need. And you got to finish up. You got to bring him home. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm absolutely gonna like go in on this name dropping bullshit. There was no need to name drop him. My question is, what did that accomplish for you as an organization to drop his name out there? Were you trying to send a message to Dexter Lawrence that, oh, look, we can sign DJ Reader? Because that was a stupid thing to do, because Dexter Lawrence was traded 4 days later, or a week later, whatever it ended up being. Or did you think that you were just kind of patting yourself on the back publicly? What did it accomplish? It's just a series of mistakes, just one after another, unforced errors, stupid moments. We're 4 years into this moron as GM. And I know that he has fans in this chat right now. He is a moron. If he was looking for a job in any other industry with that approach to things, and I've hired and fired people, you can't hire a doofus like this. The guy is insanely stupid. You don't say things like that. You don't hand leverage away to the person and the agent you're trying to sign to a contract before the contract is signed. You don't tell your competition what you're doing. You don't announce that for the world at a press conference, pissing off your own players, not getting it done. It's ridiculous. It's unforced. It's unnecessary. And I can't imagine how people who are competent in that building look at that and look at his behavior over and over again and not come to a conclusion like, this guy is just, it's a mess. He does not belong at the head of the table here. He doesn't belong at the table. I mean, and I get it that maybe John Harbaugh just enjoys having him, as his version of Theon Greyjoy turned into Reek. For those who know what Game of Thrones is, did you watch Game of Thrones?
Not really.
Yeah, there are people here who understand the Reek reference. That's what he is to him. I get that, but this is just one thing after another with this guy. Whatever comes of his fate, it's just obnoxious. And I'm sorry, the DJ Reader thing doesn't give you a pat on the back anymore. It's a must sign. Go get it done. And if you don't, it's just another reason why you have to look at the guy and say, you're just not worthy of the job. Get the hell out of our building. It's just one thing after another with this buffoon. So anyway, that's my rant on him for today. I wasn't planning on doing it, but then I saw this shit and I was like, you gotta be kidding me again. Another one?
Yeah. Look, you know how I feel about Joe Shane. I think he's an idiot. I think he should be gone. I'm not convinced he is here. I mean, look, I'm not gonna get into all that, but like between like Jordan Rodon and Paul Schwartz, it just seems this, or not Paul Schwartz, sorry, opposite of that. Leonard. Despite the Giants basically screaming from the rooftops, this relationship is great. Seems like nobody in any other organization believes that's real. So for me, I'm taking the same approach that I've taken since day one: is wait until he's extended. I have a hard time believing they're going to go into this season with him on his final year of his contract, where this contract's going to end before the draft. It doesn't make much sense to me. I think we'll either have a decision on an extension or a firing within the next few months. We'll see which one happens. As far as the Reader thing, I mean, I agree. I think the reason probably was to send a message to Dex, which was stupid, and I do think they handed him leverage. I think it was pointless. I don't think it changed things necessarily, but I do agree that it was unnecessary. And it's just adding to the stupid things that Joe Shane has done here. And the biggest thing to me, we've talked about it last week, was I think he's a big reason that Dexter Lawrence isn't here today. But that's really where I would.
He's the biggest reason Dexter Lawrence isn't here today. Let's be real about that. We lost the best nose tackle in the NFL. Probably and when it's all said and done, he's going to end up being the best nose tackle in the history of the NFL.
Very possible.
In his prime, because of the general manager's inability to manage his best player. That's a fact. It's a hard reality. It's over with. We got the 10th overall pick, and I think the Giants did a great job handling it. And Shane gets credit for that. We're not going to not give him credit for things he's part of that are good, but like it's just one thing after another. Going into the whole extension stuff now, there are 3 potential options for him now that we're through the draft. One is that they do what Pat Leonard is hinting at, and what Jordan Raanan kind of said that people around the league think is going to happen is, that the Giants just decide to move on from him now that the draft is over, like within a week or 2 after the draft. Dan Duggan kind of made a comment about that this is the time when teams start making front office changes. You're seeing a lot of front office changes around the league now, especially today, that maybe, that if they're going to move on from him, this is the time to do it. The other option is they can announce some sort of extension for him in the next week or so, where they can say, we have, John Harbaugh believes in him. We believe in him. We're giving him some form of an extension. You would think it would have to be at least like a couple of years. Otherwise, it looks kind of ridiculous, right? You'd have to give him at least like a 2-year extension, I'd imagine. And the third option is they can just ignore it and pretend it's not happening, right? And just ignore it and go into the season on his final year, just not address it. I think that causes a lot of problems. It's going to continue to create questions that John Harbaugh is going to keep getting asked through camp. Make no mistake about it. The press will keep asking him about it. He's very adept at handling questions, as he proved this weekend. But I agree with you. I think it's a situation that you want to declare the answer to one way or another. So I hope they declare the answer to it. I really do. I hope they don't just try to brush this under the rug and pretend it's not happening. So, I think we should get an answer the next week or 2. If we don't, it's really telling.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I don't see them not doing something. It's just I can't think of an example of it really happening outside of maybe like an Ozzie Newsome type situation, but that's like walking into retirement. That's not like firing after. It's happened with head coaches from time to time. Even that's rare. I can't think of one where it would happen with the GM. There's a first for everything. But I'll believe it when I see it with all of this. We'll see. That's kind of where I am at.
Now let's take the positive approach, because it was supposed to be a positive pod.
Yeah. Bring us down.
After losing Dex, you can see the vision of what they're trying to do, and it played out during the draft. I think John Harbaugh and his defenses largely want their defensive tackle room, their defensive line, to be the point of attack that holds down the run game. I don't think they're super interested in having a bunch of guys who are trying to one gap and get to the quarterback on the interior. I think they view big fat guys in the front, part of Fat Boy Summer, to hold it down and create, just a wall between themselves and the offensive line that make it harder for inside rushes, make it more difficult for running backs to find lanes to squeeze through. And then, your talented middle of the field defenders, your linebackers come and clean up and stop, get run stops and whatnot. But I think that's their general vision of things. Dexter Lawrence have obviously been amazing at that, but he was amazing at everything. But you can do what they want for cheaper, right? You don't have to invest Dexter Lawrence type money in a defensive lineman to get what they want done. That's why DJ Reader is so important. So we're literally like one DJ Reader away from kind of having that defensive line front that I think accomplishes this, between potentially DJ Reader, Shelby Harris, Darius Alexander, and then rotating guys like Sam Roberts, who we just signed, the kid we just drafted out of Auburn, who we're going to get to, whoever else they may add, maybe the guy we just signed tonight, whatever. I think they have a vision that they can really act upon and allow their linebackers to thrive. So assuming we get somebody really good to play nose, we should get into this draft class, right? Yeah. Let's talk about what they did. And I think they did a lot of good. We all came away really happy, I think, for the most part with this draft class. So let's get into it. So how do you want to go about this? You want to go pick by pick and just kind of have us rip through the scouting and the scores?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go pick by pick in order.
All right. So obviously you guys all know the picks. There's no mystery here. 5th overall, the Giants got up there, and somehow miraculously Arvell Reese fell to them. Shocking, honestly, I thought. Yeah. And never thought that he would actually fall there. Now, to be fair, we had him graded a little bit lower than the other guys like Styles and Downs. But we also, in our episode with KSI, talked about the unique talent that he was, the freakish talent that he was, and that how he might be a better fit for this defense next to Tremaine Edmonds than Sonny Styles.
And he wasn't even really that much below. I think he was a top 5 graded player in the class for us.
They were all right there. I think to some extent, I think
3-7, and I bumped up after watching.
Yeah, our rankings, to be fair, it shouldn't be like this, but I think a lot of our rankings kind of subconsciously are Giants biased, right? And we kind of thought this is probably not who they're going to take. Maybe that's what it was, whatever it was.
Yeah,
but
I think just the idea we look into the guys more that we think that we're going to have a chance at.
Right. But nevertheless, a blue chipper. I never thought for a second that he actually really, really would get to 5. Only the day before the draft, I started thinking when I started hearing some of the stuff going on at the top of the board, specifically when I heard that Dallas might want to trade in for a wide receiver at 4. I started thinking, wait a minute, maybe if Reese doesn't go 2, he might fall to 5. I thought we would trade out of the pick. Honestly,
absolutely. If you told me the chances that the Giants would take Arvell Reese, I probably would have put it at 5% or less, because I would have said, like, there's probably about a 90% chance he doesn't fall to us, and then there's probably about a 9% chance after the last next 9% is that we're gonna trade him. But
we'll never know. We'll never know if they were offered a haul or not, because they got up there so quick and put that pick in. It's almost like they didn't want to know. They didn't want to be tempted by fate, because I'm pretty sure they were going to get offers from him. Nevertheless, they announced, the Giants did, that he was their top non-quarterback on their board. And I'm assuming that they do kind of what I do mentally, is they separate the quarterbacks from everybody else. That doesn't mean that they would have had Fernando Mendoza rated higher than him, but let's just say he was the top player on their board. And so they were like, nope, we got to have him. And they had a very specific plan. They announced right away he's going to play off-ball linebacker, play the will in this system, and they're going to have a unique usage for him in Denard Wilson's system. And you can kind of figure that out. It's probably going to look a lot like how Matt Patricia used him last year. Honestly, it's going to be a lot of, playing a combination of Mike and Will, and then lining up on the edge and passing downs, just all over the place, running around and destroying things. So we all know how freakish this kid is, 20 years old, strong as a bull, a real just a defensive weapon. And we have to see how we use him. But let's go through his grading so we can actually talk about our scouting a little bit here. So
yeah.
I'm going to just pull up his stuff here. All right. Do you want to go at all through his pros and cons? I think most people know it, but you can give them the quick spiel.
Yeah, I'll just give you a quick rundown of what I thought of him. I mean, just kind of where we were with him, and I'll just kind of give him how I think he fits. Is, my biggest concern with Arvell Reese was that he was getting compared to a guy like Abdul Carter, and I thought Abdul Carter was a guy who was a proven, like, true edge, and he was a guy who had the ability to move around as off-ball linebacker. I kind of saw the opposite in Arvell Reese, and I thought Arvell Reese was going to get forced at edge because it's the more premium position. I think he landed in a great situation where I think he has like, sky's the limit for what he could be as an off-ball linebacker. He could be a truly special off-ball linebacker, like if he just like that, and that's not even adding the fact that this guy is going to bring in some elite ability as a pass rusher, as an edge rusher. He's gonna rotate in there. He's a violent player. He's one of, if not the best tackler in this class. And the one thing I learned rewatching him is I did not give him enough credit for how strong he is. For a guy like 240 pounds, like, even for an edge, he is strong as a goddamn ox. That's where it reminds me most of Micah Parsons, because Micah Parsons is kind of a smaller guy, but man, is he strong as hell.
Yeah, I think it was KSI who said it, during our episode with him, where he said, Mike, and you just kind of hinted at that, Abdul Carter was an edge rusher that could play linebacker naturally. And even though he played, in Penn State, these guys play off-ball linebacker first, the number 11s, and they traditionally slide them over as they mature into the edge role. I think Arvell Reese is an off-ball linebacker at heart. In fact, he's more than an off-ball linebacker. He's very specifically a throwback linebacker to, like, the days of the 90s and the 80s, where the outside linebackers, so to speak, right? Or the Sams, the Carl Banks types, these guys, for those who remember, like, that type of an outside linebacker, where they're linebackers. I mean, they're second level defenders who basically are able to do everything. They can drop into coverage. They can come down and control, running lanes. They're monstrous tacklers, but they can also rush the passer. Now, he is a lot quicker than Carl Banks in terms of his explosiveness, and his get off as a pure pass rusher than I remember Carl being. I don't think they played the game the same way. So that's maybe not fair to Carl. It was a little bit of a different game back then.
Everyone's faster.
Right. That's just the nature of the game. But I would say that in a system that, I think it reminds me a lot of that old Giants team, that adding him to the room, sticking him next to Tremaine Edmonds, and having guys like Carter and Burns as the edges, essentially that 4 linebacker crew left to right, I think is the best linebacking crew the Giants have had since Lawrence Taylor, Harry Carson, Gary Reasons, and Carl Banks. In fact, I don't think it's even close. I don't think they've had a linebacking crew anywhere near that good since then, when I was growing up. So I see the vision here, right? You see what the Giants are trying to do. They've assembled a ridiculous linebacking crew. And if you think about that, right? Like, we've had the weakest linebacking crew for like a decade. We always talk about how we don't have linebackers. All of a sudden, look at our freaking linebacking crew. It's insane. That's the vision. And I agree with you. He's basically an off-ball linebacker more than anything. And he's explosive. He kind of has all the traits. And he's 20. He's only been doing this for 2 years. Much like Sonny Styles, even though Arvell Reese kind of disappeared later in the season as an edge rusher, there were certain things, if you watch the film carefully, like certain instincts and, his ability in coverage and just some of his run fits, like he got better in those things. And I think he became more instinctive. So there's a lot to like on the upside. But let's get into his grades.
And if you watch, just real quick, and if you watch like back to those final games, a lot of that is just because they kind of made him a QB spy for like that second half of the season. Like that kind of became his role. And I think that was a lot of the production drop. I just want to shout John here, the Arvell and Abdul mugging a gap. That I can't get that out of my head. I think that will be great. Yeah, man. Let's get into these grades, but I'm excited for Arvell Reese. The one thing I did want to say is the one negative thing I could say to this, because we talked nonstop about the idea of adding a guy like Caleb Downs and Sonny Styles we never got. Arvell Reese is a tone-setting, highly intelligent player, but I don't think we got the green dot player that we wanted of those two. So that part kind of stings a little bit, but he's a phenomenal player. You take the best player available.
All right. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Explosiveness and quickness. We both gave him a 5. I think that's part of his calling card. Nothing more to say there. He's elite at that. Hands and pass rush moves. You gave him a 2. I gave him a 3. And I think you're a little more harsh. I think this number is an arrow pointing straight up. And a lot of this, the fact that it's not a 4 or 5 it's just about experience, but he was getting better with developing more of a bag as the season went on.
Yeah. The pass rush move is where I did it too, because his hands are definitely better in the run game. He can shed blocks really well. His strength, he can really just toss guys, but he's lacking a pass rush plan, in my opinion.
Yep. All right. Bend and flexibility. I think we both felt like he has like elite flexibility in bend. We both gave him a 4. We could have given him 5 here, honestly, but he's not quite there yet. He's still on his way. And strength and power, again, we both gave him a 4. Could have given him 5s here, to be honest, but he's strong as an ox. I thought about it. Disruption and pressure, we both gave him a 3. Again, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, this is all just him kind of being on an upward trajectory more than anything.
And one thing worth mentioning, we graded him twice. This is our edge ranking. So you have to take that in consideration. Like, strength is more of a 4 as an edge rusher.
Right. Run defense, we both gave him a 4. Drop coverage, you gave him a 5. I gave him a 4. I probably could have given him a 5. I just,
as an edge rusher,
as an edge, I gave him a 4. But no, that's fine. And pad level and leverage, you gave him a 3. So as an edge rusher, he graded out as a 3.75 for both of us, which that's bordering on like all pro, like Pro Bowl. Here's where he graded out as a linebacker, because we graded him twice. Because if you guys remember, our off-ball linebacker criteria are different. Athleticism and range, we both gave him a 5.
Yep.
Strength and durability, we both gave him a 5.
Yeah, as a linebacker, it's an easy 5. He's 240 pounds and he plays like he's 260.
IQ and instincts, we both gave him a 3. I thought about giving him a 4 here. Again, I think he's pretty instinctive as an off-ball linebacker. And sometimes there's overlap here with the edge room. So I landed on 3, but I thought about giving him a 4.
I agree. And I think he's a really smart guy. You could certainly go 4. I think I more knock him down from there's some inexperience that shows.
Blitzing and pressure, we both gave him a 5.
Yeah.
Tackling, we both gave him a 4. I didn't see any problems there. I wouldn't say he's an elite tackler or anything like that yet, but he has knockback power. And that you could push him to a 5 on this, as an off-ball linebacker too.
He's a really good tackler. I'd argue that I prefer his tackling to Sonny Styles, despite the missed tackle percentage.
Here's where we have a little difference for block shedding. You gave him a 3. I gave him a 5. I thought he was better than you thought here, but I'm willing to listen to your thought.
I think that he's not quite there as like a block deconstructor. He's not quite a stack and shed guy. I think that he can do a lot as a pass blocker, pass rusher compared to other linebackers, and I think that he does some really good things, really good flashes as a block shedder. But I don't think that I would feel comfortable putting him as like a Mike and be a stack and shed guy.
Okay. Overall, I get our grades average out to,
by the way. That was one.
I'm sorry, coverage. Did I forget coverage?
Yeah.
We both gave him a 3, I think, on coverage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think and again, that's pointed up. Again, like the 3, you have to give him what you see on film, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had limited coverage responsibilities at Ohio State this year relative to Sonny Styles, obviously, and he had Caleb Downs back there. He wasn't asked to do it a lot. I can't give him more than a 3. When he was asked to do it, I saw that he had pretty good zone instincts and understanding of zone coverage. And obviously he has the athleticism and speed to cover. So my guess is that if he's playing this and actually asked to cover more in zone as a true off-ball linebacker the majority of the time, he would grade out more like a 4 or a 5 here.
He has potential for sure to get there. I would say he's average NFL linebacker at it right now, though.
So he's grading above a 4 level for an off-ball linebacker, which kind of checks out with how we scout him, right? I think he's an above average edge prospect, with the potential to move into like a Pro Bowl all-pro tier with development. But he's already profiling as like a Pro Bowl-ish all-pro level linebacker as a prospect right now.
Yeah. And for the record, like as far as like me going back and changing it, the only thing I really like we were like as far as I was high on him already, but it went up was the strength. That was the only thing I bumped up. That was a 4. I brought that up to a 5, and that brought him up for me at like a 3.75 to me or 3.8 to me, and brought him up to a 4 for me.
Yeah, I think he's our second highest graded player behind Vega Wani over the course of this year.
Yeah, after the bumps.
Right. So, I mean, again, bottom line is we thought it was wise to just kind of look at him in both realms and how we would grade him individually. Obviously, he's going to be playing more of a hybrid role, and it's going to be curious how the Giants eventually evolve his usage. I wonder if he stays there, all along, and they end up just paying him big time money when the time comes, or if over time he slides more into the like pure edge role. I mean, that time will tell, but right now it looks like he's going to be an off-ball linebacker with some pass rushing ability. There is a lot of interchangeability in that linebacking room, man. Like I think with Brian Burns might be the only one who you think of and say, all right, he's a true, like he is what he is. He's an edge rusher, right? Even though he has ability to drop into coverage and do a few things like an outside linebacker, that's not a pure rusher. He's mostly a pass rusher. But everybody else in that room has a lot of flexibility. It's a very fascinating room, and I can't wait to see what Denard Wilson does with it.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a very fun defense to work with, and I think a lot of what we pictured for Abdul Carter to kind of be that weapon, I think that is a better fit for Arvell Reese and something that he will be.
Yep. All right, let's go to the pick 10. We got Arvell Reese. I think we're thrilled about that pick. We got to pick 10. A lot of us thought they were going to go with Caleb Downs, who was sitting there. The Giants decided to go and bolster the trenches, and I don't think anybody can complain about that. They obviously took Francis Mauigoa, the offensive tackle out of Miami, who we kind of felt like was probably going to end up being OT1 when all was said and done. Way back when we did this review, I don't think he graded out exactly as our OT1, or he might have. I don't remember.
He was mine for sure.
Yeah, he was up there overall, but he ended up finishing the season probably as a OT1. He didn't go OT1 in this class. He went 1 pick after Spencer Fano, but that might be because of the issues with the back, which we'll have to go over. But
he was our OT1.
He was our OT1. Okay, yeah. So very quickly, and I think you guys already know, but this is from our original scouting report. I don't think much change. Impressive independent hand usage in pass pro, advanced technique for his age. Remember, he's only 20 years old, just like Arvell Reese. Explosive at the point of attack, quick out of his stance, quick kick step gives him a strong foundation of pass sets. Powerful physique, strong hands, sturdy anchor, works well to the second level. really good mobility for his size. He's a big dude. He's a consistent finisher. He likes to drive guys into the ground. He has that mean streak you're looking for. Long arms, and he used them effectively to keep defenders off his chest. Good athleticism for the position. If there are any cons, sometimes he tends to let his hands drift to the outside shoulders. That will leave him open to holding calls. The arm length we thought might be an issue. It ended up not being an issue. And
for
he's
tackle,
more
it's borderline.
Yeah, he's still fine. Was he 34 or something?
Yeah.
Right? It's fine. And he tends to be more of a power guy than a consistent, like a guy who wins with just his hands. I think the, overall, like this athletic, powerful tackle, big finisher, mean mauler mentality, with the athleticism to kind of play tackle or guard. But he really does, as many people have pointed out, have like that perfect guard build, perfect guard ability. And, again, 20 years old, developing, getting better and better, just a perfect fit for this team. Mauigoa was a guy that we pigeonholed as a possible giant early on. It ended up working out. If you want to jump into the grades, we can jump into it. I don't know if you have any other thoughts on the dude.
One thing I'll throw it up real quick. One thing I thought was kind of crazy. I posted it the other day where I said, like, I called him Timu Penny Sewell, and I just randomly looked up to see how they compared. I'll throw it up. It's pretty wild. Both the exact same arm length of 33.25, almost exact same hand size. Francis 6'5.5", and Penny Sewell's like almost 6'5", 329 versus 331. You see it all here on the screen, but outside of the bench press, which Francis didn't do, it's almost identical. It's pretty crazy.
Yep. And I went back and upgraded some of my grades. We got more film to watch as the season went on and as he performed. Especially, I put a lot of stock into how guys perform on the big stage. And the way he performed at the, in the college football playoffs right until the championship game was very impressive. He went up against some pretty tough competition, did a phenomenal job. That speaks volumes to me. So I did upgrade his grades a little. Basically, I have identical grades to you. Let's put it that way. So very quickly,
I saw the vision.
Yeah, you saw it. You were on it. Play strength at anchor, we both gave him a 5. Explosiveness and power at the point of attack, we both gave him a 4. Athleticism, we both gave him a 4. Technique and hand usage, that's where we gave him a 3. And I think that has more to do with sometimes the inconsistent hand placement, that sometimes it's the outside shoulder. That also continued through the season. He's going to have to work on that, especially on the interior. I think, like the rep starts a lot faster. His instinct has to be get your hands inside the chest right away. You don't have time to bring your arms in. You got to just get him up into the guy's chest. He's plenty strong once he does that he can dominate. Pass blocking 4, run blocking 4, size and frame. I think as big as he is, I think he's an average NFL guard or tackle size, right? So we gave him a 3, and then balance and body control, like he's a little above average. So we gave him a 4.
Yeah. One thing maybe we should do here, Sal, is obviously it's a projection, but maybe we should grade him out as an interior offensive lineman. It can't do it for 100%. We haven't really seen him play there, but do you want to grade that live?
Yeah, sure. Let's go. Right. So where are we? Did you add him in the?
Yeah, I put it at the bottom. So I'll put play strength and anchor.
Okay. I would give him a 5 here. Honestly.
Yeah, I'll remain 5. I think that's what we had or is that what we had? I think that's what we had.
Yeah. Explosiveness and power at the point of attack. I want to give him a 5. I think I have to, it's a little different on the interior. This is where I think he might run into some trouble. I'll give him a 4 here. I think he's going to be high level, but I can't give him a 5 because I think that speed is going to matter.
Yeah. We'll have to see I'm staying 4 here on the inside. Athleticism.
I'd give him a 4 here. I think he's an above average athlete at guard.
Yeah. I think it plays better. I think we gave him we gave him a 4, but I do think it's a little bit, his athleticism plays a little better at guard.
Hand technique, it's the same issue. It's a 3 in my mind. I think he has to improve that a little bit. It's not bad, but it could be a lot better. That's youth, and that's coaching. Pass blocking, I think he's going to, I want to say 5 here. I really think he's going to be elite as a pass blocker on the interior.
Yeah, it's definitely a projection. I think I agree with you. I think again, if we're just projecting, I think a lot of my issues with him as a pass protector, I assume will go away
Well, it's a foot speed thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where he's not a 5 on the outside, but on the inside, as long as his hands get up and he gets explosive at the snap, it's hard to see guys getting around him.
Yeah.
Run blocking, again, I give him a 5. The guy is strong as a goddamn ox. And you're gonna give him a 4. I'm gonna give him a 5 here.
A 4, but I can see a 5.
And the frame, I'm gonna give him a 4 here for a guard.
Yeah, for a guard, that honestly, I think I might give him a 5 here for a guard.
That's fine.
I think he has a perfect guard frame.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll give him a 4. So our grades come out to about the same.
Balance and body control. The last one.
I would say 4. I mean, above average. I see no balance issues with him. He's a large person. You got to see how he translates. But I would say at least above average. So
let's see.
Where does he grade out here?
4.25.
Yeah. So again, he grades out higher as a guard, and again, as like a Pro Bowl caliber
Tizawani.
Right.
But again, projection. We know what Uwani was, but the difference is Mauigoa also has that tackle flexibility, and we're kind of making some assumptions here what we think Mauigoa can do on the inside.
And this checks out with what I think a lot of people have said about him, who I think I trust in their evaluation of O-linemen and draft prospects. That a lot of people feel like he projects as an elite guard at the next level. You know, like in the Giants community, Bobby Skinner's been pounding the table for it. But I've heard guys like Brugler and other guys say, like, on the interior, this guy just projects to be elite. Jeremy Shockey said he's going to be an all-pro year 1 if you put him at guard, you know? So I think as long as he holds up from a health standpoint, and that's an issue that we should discuss a little. I think if Francis was healthy, completely healthy in terms of the medicals at the combine, he didn't miss games, but apparently he got hurt in the Texas, the Texas A&M game? Trying to remember, in the playoffs, or was it Texas? Yeah, was it A&M or Tech? I forgot.
Sure. It was Tech in the playoffs.
Yeah, he got hurt in that game apparently, and he has a herniated disc somewhere in his back. So that issue was flagged at the combine. Some teams feel like he's at risk for needing surgery in the future. Apparently, it's a minor enough issue where even if he did have surgery, odds are he'd be fine, but it could cost him time. Surgeries like that. I'm not sure what surgery they're talking about. There are all sorts of procedures you can do on a disc, typically a discectomy or something along those lines, where you removed, portion of the disc. But you're talking about 3 to 4 months of recovery from a lot of these things. So, he would miss a big chunk of the season if he did, at any point, if he did it. It's the kind of thing where, like, if it becomes a problem on the field, I think there's a possibility that he could see himself getting that operated on next year. At the end of the first season, get it out of the way, and then spend time rehabbing. Of course, that does affect his postseason strength and training development. So it's a tricky issue. You hopefully don't need surgery, but it was an issue. The herniated disc, and some people flagged it. The Giants trainer was hired from the Miami Hurricanes, and he knew him, and apparently he said there's nothing wrong with him. He's fine, and they felt obviously comfortable putting a top 10 pick on him. But it's worth noting that it's an area of your spine where if you have a disc issue and you're having this constant explosive collision over and over again, over like 60 times a game, there's some risk to your core and to like the transference of weight and strain onto your back, and that can affect a herniated disc. So it's something to monitor. I think it's a risk the Giants are worth taking, because they feel like even if it happened, it's something they could correct and move on, and he'd still have a great career, and he looks like a 10-year type player. But it's worth noting that it's an issue, and there's a reason he fell to 10, because I don't think he falls to 10 if it wasn't for that issue.
To be fair, though, it's team to team. We'll see if it's an issue. I was going to mention the same thing, that we have Miami's trainer, but it sounds like if Reese, was taken by the Titans at 4, the Giants were prepared to take Francis at 5.
They say that now. I don't know if that's true, but maybe. Johnny May says Samoans don't feel pain. Yeah, I agree. The problem is that if your disc gets herniated, you might not feel anything. And that's the issue, so you don't want that to happen. So it's worth noting.
So question for you was on the pick itself. I think we both walk away very happy with this. I think you and I feel the same. Where we're never going to get upset about trying to fix the offensive line. It's very important, and we both like Francis a lot. After thinking about it, looking into Francis more, would you have taken Caleb Downs over Francis Mauigoa?
I'm going to say yes, only
too.
because I had him a higher graded prospect. And I'm just going to be true to my board for the most part here and say I do think Caleb Downs is. I shudder to use the word generational because I hate when people use it, but he's a very special prospect at his position, and I think that it was very, for that 5-minute period before the pick, it was tantalizing. The idea of getting probably the most elite athlete in the class in Arvell Reese, and then also getting his teammate who would have been like your field general for your defense with him. That I was having those visions in my head saying, wow, what could happen with this defense if you do that?
A
So,
couple
yeah,
culture changers, and I think with trading Dex, it would have been like, man, like yeah, we lost Dex, but these two reshape your entire defense together. Again, perfectly happy with Francis. I think it was. I don't think it was a bad pick whatsoever. I'm never going to be upset about trying to fix this offensive line. It's probably the responsible pick. But yeah, I'd probably would have gone down. I was just curious.
last question about that to you. What if Arvell Reese went ahead of us somewhere, and we really did want to take Francis as the next guy on the board? Is what that's what's being reported, right? And we took Francis at 5. Caleb Downs is there at 10, and I would assume that's who they would take at 10, most likely. I don't know, but I would assume. How would you feel if it was Mauigoa and Downs versus Reese and Mauigoa?
I mean, I would have been thrilled. I never even thought that Reese was a possibility, so I would have been really happy with that turnout. I think you and I talked a lot about, the Downs plus an offensive lineman, whether it's Mauigoa or I Olani or whatever. Probably would expect it in the opposite order, but still would have been great. The one thing I would have said where maybe it doesn't happen though is if Reese goes 4. Carnell Tate doesn't go 4, does Carnell Tate fall to 10? And if Carnell Tate falls to 10, do they take Downs or Tate?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, right? I think their board, I don't have a good feel for what their total board was, so I don't know how they look at it. I will say this, though, and this is the last thing I think we should say about the first round before we move on. When we did these simulations over and over again going into draft day, one of the conclusions I think I came to, I think we talked about it, was that if the Giants don't take their offensive lineman in the first round with these 2 picks, it complicates the draft, right? Like you have to either trade down and pick up extra swings on day 2 to solve some of these issues, or you just got to take the offensive lineman early. And I think if you go defense or receiver and defense or something, you are creating a more difficult situation for yourself on day 2 to try to solve the offensive line problem. And what did we see on day 2? Well, Keelan Rutledge went in the first round. Like people were speculating he might go in the first. Teams value his flexibility, and then you saw the Texans trade ahead of the Buffalo Bills to clearly get him. And as soon as they did, one, it was the first round, so he was off the board. I always thought he was interior lineman 2 in the class anyway, but he went very early. The Bills just started trading right out of the first round because they clearly wanted him and they were disgusted. And then Chase Bisontis went before we even got to our pick. So both Rutledge and Bisontis, who I think were the 2 guys in the next tier, were gone by pick 37. And I don't think the Giants really cared much about Emmanuel Pregnant. I didn't think he was anywhere near these guys, to be totally honest, in terms of and like I didn't think they would like him. He was older, and sure enough, he fell to 80 something or whatever in the draft. I don't think the NFL viewed him the way like PFF and others viewed him. They clearly had Bisontis and Rutledge at a higher level, and they were gone. So I actually think at the end of the day, the Giants made the right call here. They got their offensive lineman, they got their defensive stud, and they moved on.
Yeah. Hopefully, you look at this draft where it's like, look at 2014, for example, with all those great players that got taken, but the Cowboys were pretty damn happy. They didn't get the flashy player, but they got Zach Martin, the Hall of Fame guard.
Exactly. So one way or another, whether it was Mauigoa or Uani, whether it was Reese or Styles or Downs, some combination thereof of one of the Ohio State defenders and one of the linemen was probably the best possible outcome. And the Giants got it, right? And they apparently got the two guys they thought were the best of the batch. So good for them, you know?
Yep.
And I think it was better. If you're going to go offense, I would much rather go trenches. I said that a bunch. I was like, I don't want a running back here. As much as I viewed Jeremiah Love much higher than you did, but I said
as much as you try to talk Jeremiah Love into existence,
I didn't do that. I said that I'd be okay with it, but there was like 6 guys I would take ahead of him. But I didn't want the running back there over other people. I certainly did not want any of the wide receivers. I didn't value any of the wide receivers there at all, you know, and I'm so glad that it was the trench guy that we got. Anyway, that's day one. I think it was a grand slam A+ day one. Any way you slice it, you get the feeling the Giants got what looks like the best player in this draft, in my opinion. It probably fell to them.
Grade each of those picks individually.
At 5, I'm going to give that an A+ because I think if you got the top player on your board, that's an A+ at 5, especially with his upside as an edge rusher and just his impact as a linebacker.
And their immediate remarks about how they're going to use them makes me okay. They know what they're doing.
Exactly, and they had a plan right away. It wasn't like, oh, he fell to us, let's take him. You know, it wasn't like that. It was like we knew that if he fell to us, we'd take him because this is our plan for him. For Francis, I'm going to give them an A- on Francis.
That's right. My head was that too.
And the only reason I say that is the health thing, because I can't ignore it, the back thing. It's the only reason I would give him a little A-. And I would just say that I think I would grade as a guard. I would grade Francis and Vega probably similarly. I'm guessing their scores came out similar when we did our grading. And I would have been comfortable rolling the dice and trading that pick to try to get a day 2 asset to take one of them later. You know, they couldn't have gone far because I think Olani went 14 to the Ravens, right? So you could only have gone down a few picks. But if there was any draft capital to be had that was worth taking, I would have. Then again, the Cowboys traded from 12 to 11 and gave up, 2 5th-round picks? It's not like you were getting much. So,
yeah.
Anyway, that A and A is basically how I look at it. An outstanding day 1.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, there's some questions between the health with Mauigoa. You could argue the trade back. You always got to consider those in the scenario if possible. What's your maximizing your assets, and then just, you know, regardless of me being totally fine and happy with Mauigoa, I think, you know, you got to consider that who's on the board, and you passed on what many people thought were the best player in the draft.
Before we go on to day 2, I want you guys to like the episode, please. Hit like on YouTube. There's a lot of you in here, and we appreciate you guys as always. It looks like we have 41 viewers on YouTube and over 650 or so, close to 650 on Twitter. So thank you all for viewing. Hit the like, share the episode if you get a chance. And I want you to appreciate the fact that I changed my Celsius drink today to Celsius Sparkling Kiwi Guava in honor of fat Samoans being put on our team with their hands in the dirt. I put down the sparkling grape and I said it's time for Kiwi Guava, because this is what this is the Celsius a Samoan would drink, Monty. Polynesians like guava and kiwi. And you think I'm racist. Let's move on to day 2. Sal, the Cowboy fan. What the hell does it? What is this? What is this? Don't hear Sal crushing the Cowboys for trading picks to move up one spot like we did. Yeah, because they got Caleb Banks and not Deontay. Caleb Downs and not Deontay Banks. How about that? I said to everybody that one of my goals tonight was to ruin Jabri's Wednesday evening like we normally do. And I plan on meeting that goal. All right. Let's move on to day 2 of the draft. So the Giants killed Thursday night. Friday, we were all talking about how awesome it looked. The board shook out in such a way, Monty, where we were all thinking that either they're going to trade this pick or they might take a D tackle. The D tackles were still on the board. Caden McDonald was on the board when the day started. Lee Hunter was on the board when the day started. Christian Miller was on the board when the day started. But as I mentioned on Friday in Spaces, and I think I talked to you about it too, when you looked at who was really on the board, the real value was the cornerbacks who fell. Because of all the linemen who went day 1, like first round graded corners were sitting there to start day 2. So we all know about the Jermod McCoy fall due to his unfortunate injury, fell all the way to the 4th round. We didn't know how far he would fall then, but he was there and he was an option. Avion Terrell, who we both loved. He was our favorite corner. He was there. And then Colton Hood, who we had a first round grade on. All three of them were sitting there. And I just felt like you could go GT here, but it feels like you might be forcing it. And it's something you had brought up before. And you said, don't force it, and like really the value felt like you were going to get a first round talented corner. And I was kind of hoping like one of those corners fell and we just took one. And that's exactly what happened. We took apparently the guy that we wanted the most.
It's a position we need, in my opinion, just as bad as interior defensive line, especially, again, I talked about it. Look at the free agent cornerbacks available. Look at the free agent interior defensive linemen. You can figure it out with some guys out there. There's nobody left for wide receiver and cornerback.
Jabri just wrote something that I absolutely cannot share in the chat. I can't share on the screen for YouTube, but I agree. Anyway, so we'll get to that. Anyway, so the Giants did take with Avion Terrell on the board and Jermod McCoy on the board. They took, the Raiders traded ahead, get ahead of the Giants to take Caden McDonald. They thought they were taking him away from the Giants. Rumor has it afterwards that he wasn't the Giants' primary target at that pick. I believe that. I believe that they were going to get a corner there.
Yeah,
looking at corner, it was a big need for us going forward. We barely have starters now, and there was such tremendous value there, especially the prototypes that Denard Wilson would seek out. So they took Colton Hood. So let's talk about Colton Hood.
Yeah, man. Colton Hood is an interesting player. We talked about it, leading into that day where, it's funny is the names that got thrown around were like Jermod McCoy, Avion Terrell. And I was like, okay, like awesome. Like, I'm glad they're considering Avion Terrell because that's who I would take. But when we're talking, I was like, if you had asked me who I thought they would take, it's Colton Hood. Because Colton Hood has more size, speed. He's a press man guy that fits more of what Denard Wilson was looking for. And, turns out people still don't know what John Harbaugh is actually doing, and they're still working on getting leaks there. And, they went ahead and they took Colton Hood, and I think he's going to fit this defense well. He's a press corner, press man, very sticky. He's constantly sitting in that hip pocket of these guys. I think that he has a very good feel for what's going on. That's something I've always noticed is, whether the ball is thrown out for a screen, it's going the other way, run, or the ball is coming at him, and he knows when to turn his head. And that's a great thing for Giants fans. After Deontay Banks, he actually knows when to turn his head around and make a play. Very, very, very. I don't know what the right word, but very much knows what's going on all the time when he's on the field. Competitive football player, tacks downhill. He's a click and close guy. I think he's still raw in a lot of senses. I think that
he's young.
I think that he gives way too much space when he's playing off coverage and going underneath him, especially when the wide receiver's working back to the quarterback. I think that he carries guys very well when they make moves, but when they work back, he lets them get way too much space and make plays underneath him. He's aggressive to make the tackle after, but he can take some bad angles at times. He's a guy that is not a guaranteed at all in this NFL. Cornerbacks are a position that's very hard to project. It's ones that we see issues all the time at, and he has some developmental aspects to his game, but we have Denard Wilson, and that makes me feel a lot better about swing for the fences. And I think that I don't think Colton Hood has like a really low floor or anything like that, but I do think he is a swinging for the fences guy compared to like an Avion Terrell. What is your thoughts?
Again, quoting our friend KSI, I think he put it perfectly. He said Colton Hood is what Deontay Banks was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what he is. He is that physical. I remember loving Deontay Banks's demeanor at Maryland when he was coming out, that he's just that chirpy, chippy, arrogant corner. You're looking for that physical elite athlete, downhill, but can flip his hips and athletic enough to run with anybody, constantly fighting, and I mean that in a good way. The difference is the ball skills, right? He has instincts to turn his head around and go get the football. And I've always said, like, Deontay Banks, people say, well, what if he had ball skills? Deontay Banks with ball skills is like a freaking Pro Bowler. Like if Deontay Banks had turned his head around, he might be a Pro Bowler because he's still as good as anybody in terms of sticking with people in coverage. The guy's incredible. He does not you can't run away from Deonte Banks. He's really fluid. He runs with anybody. Just has no idea where the football is. So the quarterback just keeps throwing at him because either he's going to get mossed or he's going to get a penalty. He's a problem. But Hood doesn't do that. Hood is a guy that when he's running with you, he's sticky and he has a great instinct and feel for when to turn his head and get his hands around to get to the football. Now, I think, call that ball skills. It is to some degree. I think it's like halfway to ball skills. Ball skills are partially that, but it's also being able to make a play on the football and take it away, which I don't think he's done enough of. That could just be age and the role that he was thrust in because of McCoy's injury. So, but I can't give him too much credit there. But he really has that demeanor. Now, what I really liked about his game, other than the things I mentioned, great in run support. He's so athletic that he trusts his athleticism, sometimes to his detriment. I will say that on the snap, sometimes I feel like he lets wide receivers declare before he starts moving. I don't know if you noticed that about him.
Yeah, I saw that.
I think he trusts his speed and his explosiveness to make up ground. I think in the NFL, that is something to pay attention to, that if he's going to be overly patient with some NFL receivers, they might take advantage of him. Because there is some risk of quick game taking advantage of him, especially if he plays off ball too much. Although in Denard Wilson's system, he's probably playing a lot of press, and in press, he's really good, man. Physical, good jab, holds guys, and he turns his hips and runs. I did notice that he has a tendency to try to play with his back to the sideline. If you notice that, whenever possible, he tries to play outside leverage, back to the sideline. He wants to make a play on the football. He wants to do things like that, and he baits the quarterback to throw his way, but
he gives that inside leverage a lot, and he can make a play on it, but it also results into way too many easy is the wrong word. Way too many completions because they're always he's always competing them. So I shouldn't call him easy. He's always there to try to make a play.
He clicks and close real quick on those, and he gets his hands in there.
But he's giving the wide receiver an opportunity to make that play.
But it's worth mentioning your competition at the NFL level is that half a step quicker, half a step more physical, half a step faster to the landmark. The quarterbacks are that much faster and that much more accurate. That little bit that is now a pass breakup at the collegiate level because you played it that way becomes a completion and potentially yak. And it's just something to pay attention to. Now, I will say, I don't think this is going to be as much of an issue with Denard Wilson because I'm pretty certain Denard Wilson is going to have him on the line of scrimmage, harassing guys and taking away that quick stuff because that's his philosophy. He said, Denard Wilson blatantly says that his goal is to take away the easy stuff and force the quarterback to not have an easy throw so that you get your front guys a chance to get there and your pass rush chance to get there. Your cornerbacks are doing their job, taking away the easy stuff. So what you're really worried about is he good in zone, right? Can he understand zone responsibilities and when to hand off somebody and when to match off and where to go? I thought he was outstanding at those things. For a guy without experience, his instincts in zone were phenomenal.
Yeah, I was very impressed for a defense that is built around the press man coverage. Something when I look closer into Gerard McCoy, I saw some blemishes there when they did play zone. I felt like Hood was very, very, very comfortable fielding zone coverage and felt like when there is, when I'd go back and I'd see a blown coverage, I'd be like, no, that's not Hood. Everybody else, the safety fucked up or whatever. No, Hood did the right thing there.
His instincts are so natural in zone, knowing who to cover, when to pass people off, who to take and man into match principle. He was a natural lad. I can see why a guy like Denard Wilson would be doing backflips with happiness, getting a guy. It just seems like a natural athlete for his system. So again, I think this is a home run pick. The kid is young. If you've heard him speak on interviews, uber competitive. He's got the right temperament to play the position. I think he's an outside corner, but he can play inside. There are plenty of reps where he's lined up in the slot and he's carrying guys into the slot, and he can handle a wider route tree as a defender. So he's just, what he is? He's a travel corner. Some guys are left-sided corners. Some guys are right-sided. Some guys are slot only. This is a guy where you say, here's your assignment. I don't care where he is on the field. You run with him. He's going to travel with him. He does that constantly, right?
You for sure saw it at times. You mostly played one side, but you saw him travel at times when he's playing man.
Yeah, plenty. Anyway, let's get to the grades because we have other guys to get to, but we're happy with this pick. So again, the categories, The first one is speed and quickness. We both gave him a 4. Could have given him a
Mhm.
5 because he's really fast. Strength
Yeah,
and
he's
press.
just not quite elite, but he's right on the cusp.
Strength and press. We both gave him a 4. Again, could have given a 5, but he's right there.
Mhm.
Man coverage, same thing. We both gave him a 4.
Yeah,
Could have gone higher.
I definitely I gave him the edge to 4. It was really probably closer to like a 3.5 for me. He needs he needs to improve there, but it's clearly it's clearly a strength for him.
I'm gonna give him a 4 in zone. You gave him a 3.
Mhm.
I like what I saw for him, but in ball skills, you gave him a 4. I gave him a 3. And again, I could have given him a 4 on the pass breakups and the
Yeah,
physicality and
that's kind of what
management.
I'm going off of.
I'm just not giving it a 4 unless I see more interceptions. That's all it is.
Yeah, he has,
Nothing more.
he had
One,
I think
I
it was
think,
like
right?
6 pass breakups this year and 5 last year. He had some pretty his interceptions that he did have were pretty impressive. So I did
Yeah,
go there, but I
catching
could
and
argue 3 for sure.
yeah, no, I think that's fair. Run support and tackling 4. Could have given him a 5. He's really
See,
excellent here.
I'm the opposite there because you went run support and tackling, and I think he had some issues as a tackler. I think he could take some bad angles. I think he was a little bit high as a tackler. I think he's very very aggressive and downhill as a run defender, which made me keep it high. He's a click and close guy, and he will when there's a screen or the balls bounces high, he's flying downhill to make a play, but. I do think he has some stuff to clean up as a tackler, personally.
What I will say about him in run support is when he diagnoses either a screen or an outside run, he will blow people up getting to the
Oh,
ball.
that's true too. That's also a great point.
I mean, he cannot be blocked. He's
Yeah,
ridiculous. For a guy his size, he's going up
relentless.
against yeah, I mean, he's going up against like much bigger people, tight ends, linemen, and he'll just blow them up to get to the ball handler, which is impressive.
Mhm.
Blitzing, we both gave him a 4. That's pretty
Yeah,
self-evident.
they didn't use him a ton for that. Somewhat of a projection there. Just how like what you just talked about there, the way he's just relentless and blow people up. I think he'd be used more in blitzes if you want.
And IQs, I think we both give him a 3. This is not a knock to give him a 3. I think it's just more like a, we have to see more of it. He's very young.
Mhm.
I think he's quite instinctive though. So overall at 3.75, just like
Mhm.
a notch below like a almost Pro Bowl level player, well above average kind of prospect. Very happy. I think right away he projects as a starting cornerback 2 on the outside, with the upside at his age and his athletic profile of becoming like a true like starting cornerback 1. I don't think cornerback 1 at a high level is out of range for his outcomes.
Yeah. I don't feel like as comfortable as I did with like an Avion Terrell when I was grading him. I felt really good about the player. It feels there's a lot of projection here to me with Colton Hood where I had a trouble with each one of these grades. Like, am I going high or am I going low? Because I saw some high flashes, I see some low flashes, but I'm really excited about the player, and I've said it again. Like Jannard Wilson, I think is the X factor here.
Yep. Outstanding. All right. Great pick. I'm looking forward to him. So we thought day 2 was over. Nope. We get a call in the middle of the round 3. The Giants have traded up. We need to talk about this trade up to pick 74. They give up their 4th round pick this year, their 5th round pick this year, and their 2027 4th, a coveted pick in the next draft to get to pick 74, where they took wide receiver Malachi Fields out of Notre Dame. Very briefly, let's talk about the trade because we have to discuss it. And how people feel about it, and then we'll talk about the player. So what were your thoughts on the trade? I can't say it, Jabri.
I hated the trade. I don't think there is a player in general for me that would have made that trade to move up for it. I don't think it's just a Malachi Fields thing, and we'll get into my opinion as him as a player. I think that just from a philosophy standpoint, I think that I would what's the difference between 109 and 74 with your likelihood to hit on that pick, and is that
almost nothing?
And historically almost nothing. And the difference between your 5th round pick and a 4th round pick next year, I'd rather have the 3 darts. Like those are like obviously not premium picks, but people writing those picks off like they're nothing day 3 picks is absolutely insane. One quick rant here. The NIL argument that's getting thrown around is completely flawed and makes no fucking sense. Like I'll just try to, I know you understand it, Sal, but I'll try to put it in perspective really quick try to make people understand what they're listening, why it makes no sense is, let's say previously, let's go back to like 2017, there was 25 players of draft eligible or guys you have a draftable grade on that would go back to school. Let's say that was the number. And
Right.
those 25 players would go back to school, and then they would go into the next draft on average. So you'd lose that, but it would just be kind of moving down. So really you'd still end up with about the same amount of players in each class. It's the same idea. It just went up. Let's say it's 50 now. You're recouping 50 from the previous year, and you're pushing 50 into the next year. This idea that because of the NIL, that suddenly these players are going away, they don't exist anymore, makes no fucking sense. If anything, the NIL helps day three, because suddenly you have guys who were never going to like be a real asset in a draft decide, you know what, I can make some money going back to school. Why do I have to just try to be a 5th, 6th round pick or even a 4th? I can be a 1st or 2nd and I can get money. And that's what they do, and they get that extra year, and you've seen it help guys. And it's a fucking stupid argument. I don't know where it came from. Actually,
I'll take it a step further.
Dumbass video.
I'll take it a step further. The NIL will probably increase the hit rate of those 4th and 5th round picks, because you're now going to get slightly older prospects who've had more time to mature at the collegiate level because they were able to stay and do that while getting paid. A lot of the failures on late day 2, early day 3, that range, a lot of those failures are just kids who you take a swing on, but they haven't had a chance to fully develop and mature in college. The NFL is not a developmental league. We see this over and over again. They get to the NFL level, they're not ready to play, and they don't play, and they don't develop, and that's it, right? They don't make it. Now you're talking about taking swings on guys like at maybe less premium positions, like, defensive tackle or inside linebacker or running back or swing tackle, where you're getting them later in the draft and they're a more developed athlete. Much higher probability that kid is going to come in ready to compete. First of all, you're getting grown men as opposed to kids, right? Like, you're not, like, if you're going to take a 20-year-old, you want to take the Arvell Reeses and the Francis Mauigoas, the freaks, right, who are grown men at their age. But most kids aren't like that. They need time to mature into grown men strength and bodies, and you're getting those now later. The NIL argument is dumb. Yeah. At the end of the day, I did the historical research on this for people who argued with me about this trade. And I agree with you. It was a terrible trade from a value standpoint. The historical hit rate, meaning defined as you take somebody at pick 74 and they're going to play at least 4+ years for you, right? At a maybe a starting level, is about 25%, maybe 30% on the high end, right? You know what that number is at pick 105?
What? Same?
About 25 to 30%. Yeah. So when you get to 145 or whatever the next one, it goes into like the 15 to 20 range, somewhere in that range. But like the point is, you gave up 2 4th round picks that are equivalent in historical value of hit rates to pick 74. So you basically gave up a 2-for-1 there, and then you gave up an additional something. Now, at the end of the day, does it really matter? Only if the pick that you used doesn't hit. That's the key here. And we should get into the player now, because I don't like the value of the trade. I would have preferred the swings. It's over with. They made their choice, and they moved up to get Malachi Fields. And now the question becomes, how do you define success for Malachi Fields? And we should talk about the prospect to determine, are we likely to get the value we want out of the pick? I don't care about the pick anymore. It's done. Is he going to give us what we need as a player? So let's talk about him as a prospect.
Sure. So where do you want to start?
Why don't you've been doing a pretty good job of doing the quick summary. So do you want to just do that again and run the player profile, and then we'll go into like the grading and stuff? I'll handle the grading. You can,
Sure. So I do want to get into some of the analytic profile stuff of him, because I think that's important, but I'll just give you my thoughts as far as watching the tape. I thought he's kind of a niche wide receiver. I think where how you use him, he's a guy who's going to fit what Harbaugh wants to do, though. He is a fantastic run blocker, and I think that's something that Harbaugh really liked in him is going to use with him. You know, I'll say I went back and I was watching his Virginia tape, and one of the games I watched was him versus Clemson, and I was like, now I kind of see some people's issues with Avion Terrell and like run defense, because he was bitching Avion Terrell, absolutely bitching that man and driving him all over the field. He did not stand a chance versus this guy because he's so big. He uses his frame well. He uses his arms. That's my favorite part about him. He's a fantastic blocker. I think he's more of a situational receiver. I think his routes are not that impressive. I think he has an okay release off the line at times, and I think that's somewhat inconsistent. So it's been mentioned, like, as he starts to get more tired, that was what coaches said about him, that his release could become more inconsistent. He has fantastic hands. I'll give that a plus. He is a hands catcher, 100%. He is a jump ball specialist. I mean, you throw the ball up to him, he is one of the big guys that you want to go up for. There's not many people you'd want to go up for the football more than Malachi Fields. I will say one distinction there, though. I don't necessarily think that equals contested catch guy. I think that he has some chops as a contested catch guy, but you're throwing a contested slant to Malachi Fields. He's not necessarily going to come down with those catches. He has about a below 50% contested catch rate. And if you look, it's not because he's poor at jump balls. It's because he's not consistent enough in those situations. But I do think for a guy like Jackson Dart, who loves to throw those jump balls, I think he's going to be a tool for them. I think that's something they saw. I think that's playing to your team, playing to the ability you want to run, playing to the ability of your quarterback, that he's going to put the ball up for him, and he's going to use a guy like this. I can see the vision with Malachi Fields, which I think is the most important part, but I don't see a starting NFL wide receiver.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. All right. I watched as much film as I could get my hands on for him going back through Notre Dame and Virginia, where he was before he went to Notre Dame. And he's a kid who grew up around Charlottesville, Virginia. So he was at UVA. He went to Notre Dame. I'm not even sure why he went to Notre Dame, because they're just a run heavy offense with 2 first-round running backs, as we saw. I don't think, and with the quarterback who just didn't help him much, and I feel like that didn't help our ability to assess his ability. But you kind of hit the nail on the head. Like, at the end of the day, he's a guy with a very limited route tree. He's not fast, and he doesn't separate. Yes, he hits 21, 22 miles per hour on the GPS because he's 6'5" and he's a strider.
Mm-hmm. And he's pretty fluid for a big guy. I give him credit to that.
He's athletic and fluid for a big guy. He definitely can generate momentum and picks up speed as he goes down the field. That's like a classic X receiver. That's what he is, right? He's that guy who can pull away down the field with speed because his stride length will carry him, and he has the ability to do that. But he's not a guy that's going to run away from you early in a rep. He needs build-up speed. He doesn't have much of a route tree. He really ran 3 routes at Notre Dame. And honestly, he didn't run a lot more in UVA when I watched him. It wasn't that different.
No. He looked a little bit more athletic, like the way, but honestly, I'll say I think part of that was that, more and more watching it, is I think that Malachi Fields kind of learned the more nuances of tempoing his routes, which I think is something that helped him a lot, because he's not nuanced in his route running ability. So it allows him to, kind of set receivers up, allowed him to be able to stop on a dime easier and make his cuts while at Virginia, he was kind of just trying to use his athleticism as much as he could. That's kind of my takeaway.
I mean, I always like to grade guys and evaluate them for what they do and not what they could do or what they don't do well. What he does well is he's very good at the go ball. He's very good running deep posts, and he's good on comeback routes and curls, right? And I think, the one thing he does do that's kind of athletic and fluid is when he breaks off at the stem to come back, he drops his hips very naturally. Like he's not like this clunky big guy. He's very smooth in the transition backwards, and he creates a little separation there. That's like the one place he creates separation.
Yeah, that I noticed that over and over, and I think again I think I noticed it more at Notre Dame where he wasn't necessarily just trying to run full speed all the time. I felt like when he was kind of tempoing his routes more, he was way better at being able to sink his hips and come back, and he could create separation for sure.
Right.
Curl routes.
His superpower, though, you mentioned it, is when it comes to the catch point. I haven't seen too many guys better than him, honestly, especially on the boundary. Like he really does a great job of ball tracking, which is a skill that I think is underrated. He ball tracks really well, and he has this enormous height advantage and wingspan advantage, and he still manages to high point, right? He leaps and he high points, makes it almost impossible for him to be, boxed out of the football from defenders because of the way he attacks the football. And he's a hands catcher, and he has freaking glue on his hands. Like when he's doing that, he does catch everything on the boundary doing that stuff. Really a natural hands catcher, and body control is fantastic down the field when he does that stuff. I think on the outside, he's more than a 50-50 guy, right? He's contested catches down the field. He's always in the advantage of the way he plays and his ability. I've heard, people we like Dan Schneider and others saying, I'd like to see him in the slot. I don't want to see this guy anywhere near the slot. I don't think he has the route running ability to play in the slot. I don't think he breaks off his routes clean enough. I think on slants, he's food personally. The way he's kind of slow with his transition, and his superpower is going to be being that big receiver on the boundary. And again, where he will make his living is with Jackson Dart. The way I described him ultimately is he is here to be the fuck it, he's down there somewhere guy for Jackson Dart. Because Jackson Dart's the kind of quarterback he's not Daniel Jones. He doesn't need to see 3 yards of separation and daylight for you to get a chance at the football. If you're down there and Jackson Dart's looking to make a play on 3rd down or on a 2nd and long or something, or he's going to find you. He's going to let you go and get the football. He let Wan'Dale Robinson go and get those kinds of footballs. He sees a big target like this, he's going to get comfortable with him, and he will absolutely use this kid. And that's the upside, right? The positive here is he's going to the perfect quarterback for his, for him, right? Dart is going to give him the opportunity to succeed, and he's going to get that football in those situations. So I think he has a chance to be productive. I'm just being honest about what I think his strengths are, what his limitations are. He's a great blocker, like you mentioned. I don't want to see him on the inside. I understand that there's some blocking benefit for him lining up inside as a blocker in the slot. But I also feel like when I watched him, there are a couple of things I noticed about his route running when he was blocking. I don't know if you saw this. He gives away the play at the snap. Did you notice that?
But I'll look for it next time.
Go back and watch him. Anybody who's watched him, you can tell it's a run play with the way he starts his route. He has a hitch in his step and a slow approach to attacking the route. Every time it's a run play.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
He doesn't run full speed on those plays. He slows down in a way that's very transparent, and you can see it when he's going to block. Yeah. And when he takes off, when he really jumps and he runs into his route, it's always a pass. And it's just something I saw, whatever tape I saw of his, it was at Virginia, it was at Notre Dame. He gives the play away. And I think that at the NFL level, I do think defenders are going to key into that, and it's going to be something they have to work on. He's going to have to learn how to block and run routes with the same tempo and the same approach. But he is a great blocker. He helps in the run game. But again, I don't want to see this guy in the slot. I want to see him on the outside, mossing people and being that fuck it, he's down there somewhere guy for Jackson Dart. I also think he's an asset in the run game on the outside. He's going to pull DBs wider, standing on the outside, running down the field, and create running lanes for our running backs to hit outside zone or whatever we want to do. So I think there's a world where he's a productive receiver for us. And I think he can be a good receiver at the NFL level. I just think he has some limitations. And, would I have made the trade to go up to 74 for this guy? Honestly, no. But we've got him, and I think he has strengths that Jackson Dart can take advantage of, and I can see the upside. The upside here is like he becomes a good wide receiver too. I think that's the upside, right? That he becomes like a 800 yard to 1,000 yard per year average wide receiver 2 type receiver, and he's a big boundary X who opens things up. I think that's what his peak is, and that's a great peak. But I think what I would expect from him right now, if he gave me 500 yards next year, I'm actually okay with that. As a rookie,
Yeah, I mean, my expectations are low, to be
yeah.
honest. Yeah, that's what you're hoping for. I think I agree. I think his ceiling to me is a wide receiver too. I'll be honest. The only way I see him hitting that is in the slot, and I don't disagree with you on anything that you said. The guys in this prototype, the guys that become outliers here is because they get taken from being pure outside guys and they put them inside and they use their size and they use their length and they have more space to work with and they get the ball and they use their size to break tackles and just be that big slot type, use it for blocking. I think I agree with you. The way I look at him is I just see him as a guy that plays a role. I don't see him necessarily as like if you're trying to make him a starter, I think that's the way you do it. But I also think like if you just use him for those jump balls for Jackson Dart, which will be helpful. If you use him for his blocking ability, I think that will be helpful. And I think that's kind of a role he can play, and you can slowly add some other parts to his game. But I think if you were looking for him to be that outlier, be that exception, I think that I would only see that maybe happening if you use him as a big slot. I want to get into that a little bit, just some of the numbers there as far as why I'm a little bit more concerned about this. Cause
Sure.
we watch the film. I love film, but also I'm an analytic guy too. I think I don't like drafting outliers. And if I am drafting an outlier, I better fucking love your tape. That's kind of how I look at it. And he's an outlier. I mean, there's no getting around it. I'll pull up some things that I found and did myself. So this was all instances of round 1 through 5 wide receivers who had a contested target rate of 37% or higher. It was JJ Arcega-Whiteside in 2017, JJ Arcega-Whiteside in 2018, and Malachi Fields. End of list.
So why don't you explain to people what that actually means? Because I don't know. They should understand the relevance of what that number actually is.
Yeah, it just means that he doesn't separate. It means that when
Right.
he's targeted, it's contested. And when you're the amount of times that you are showing your success, your value to a team is so often contested. That's not something that tends to translate to the NFL very well. Yeah, authentic. I was about to get into the Matt Harmon stuff. Mentioned 0% comeback routes. I mean, that I don't necessarily know. I guess it's curls that maybe is more what he's going with, but that's what he had as far as his usage. But speaking of that, he has a database because basically for 18, he did 18 prospects, and I did this for a few guys to show where they were valuable. And Denzel Boston was a guy I really liked who came up really well. Casey Concepcion's a guy who did really well in this. I ran at Malachi Fields, hoping to see something good, not what I saw. So there was a few areas that I looked in. One of the table was success for types of coverage, essentially, and he was last, 18 out of 18. Success of different route concepts, so different route concepts. How successful is he overall in each? He was 17 out of 18. Contested catch situations, he was 12 out of 18. And again, this is where I'm going to, just because he's a jump ball guy doesn't mean he's a contested catch guy. It doesn't necessarily equal 1-to-1. Tackle breaking, 4 for 18. That was good. He's definitely a guy who's hard to take down. Target/catch rate, so the rate he's targeted and the rate he catches, 15 out of 18. Total score out of the entire class, 18 out of 18. So just, from more of the tracking of a lot of that's route running, some of it's not. He just did not do well at all. There was another one. I'll see if I can find it, but here it is. This is the last one I have for you. The only power four, I guess power five or power four, previously power 5 wide receivers since 2019 with an ADOT of over 8 yards in a contested catch rate versus man of. I'm just gonna put it on the screen because let me show this. So. It's a lot here. All right. This is essentially what it was. Only power 4, and then contested target rate versus man.
and yards per route run versus zone of just certain numbers. And here is where they ended up. It was Malachi Fields, Cody White, Denzel Mims, Casey Washington, N'Keal Harry, Frank Darby, Nick Westbrook, Keen, and Will Shepherd. And you see some guys like N'Keal Harry and Denzel Mims, who people were very high on going into those drafts, who, were not separators in college and did not work at the next level. So it's something that you see players fail at over and over again. When you can't separate at the college level, it makes it much harder to translate at the NFL level. It's a big reason I am so high on route runners and separators. There is guys who can go to the league and be successful as guys who necessarily that's not their strength, but you need to have some level of it. And this is where I'm worried, is about trading 3 valuable picks for a guy who's objectively an outlier analytically. He might work it out. Not ever. You outliers do hit. It does happen, but I'm not betting that many draft picks on an outlier personally.
No, I'm with you. I mean, at the end of the day, like, I'm looking for the positives. I think he has some traits that are potentially good fits for Jackson Dart as an X type receiver, but there's just a lot of stuff in his profile that, when we evaluate these guys year after year, these are the guys who usually fail, unfortunately. Honestly, like the guys who don't run routes and who don't have separation skills are often the guys who fail at the next level. And we see this year after year. The draft community tends to fall in love with these guys, the Keon Colemans, the Xavier Legettes, the Jonathan Mingos. We've been guilty of that, but their profile, and he's a little different than those guys, but I mean,
there's definitely some similarities. I feel a lot to Keon Coleman.
But the similarities are that these are guys who don't have a great route tree and they don't separate. And you can say all you want, well, it was the offense and the offense wasn't conducive to it. They didn't showcase their ability. But the other way to look at it is you didn't see the ability. So how do you know it's there? You're really extrapolating a lot, I would disagree. I don't think Coleman produced much of anything. I mean, he had more production than this guy, I agree, but Coleman was not the greatest receiver in college. He had a very limited route tree, and
I
remember hearing
he started out really hot at the beginning of the year.
He started out hot and he tapered off, and I remember hearing like, oh, he's so great on slants, and his team stopped calling them or whatever it was, right? Or crossers. I forgot what it was. And again, like there was a lot of extrapolation, like, oh, he'll do this at the next level, but if he didn't do it at the collegiate level, how do you know? And I think it's a tough bet to make. So what he is a guy that will go up and get the football on the outside. And I think he's very good at catching the ball in the air and competing for it on the boundary. I think you mentioned it, the contested catch rate is probably artificially low because of all the stuff over the middle where he really doesn't do much to win. But I mean, he is what he is. I'm not expecting a ton. I wouldn't have made the trade. They got him. They better find a way to use him. I think Dart's a good player to work with for him, but I'm very cautious in my view of him. I will say this, now that he's here, I think that there are a lot of people who, they always jump on the bandwagon and they applaud the Giants and say, you're just being a hater. You didn't like the pick, this and that. Many of those people are going to be the ones who kill this kid next year. If he doesn't produce like a wide receiver 2 right off the bat, and I'm telling you right now, I just don't think he's going to produce at that level.
He's a developmental guy, man. That's the reality of it. If he's ever going to be anything, he's got to develop. He's not there. It's the expectation he's going to be a wide receiver 2. You're setting up this man for failure. I think this guy can have a role. I think he can do things, and I don't know what he'll do long term for us. I certainly think he can have a role for us long term. I hope he puts himself as a wide receiver 2 eventually for us and is a starter. That's the hope, but I don't think it's year 1. And I think the more realistic expectations, which I don't love for trading 3 picks, is that he's a valuable role player. He does roles that are valuable to this team.
So let's assume Malik Neighbors is healthy, hopefully, right? He's easily our number 1 option on offense. And just in the receiving game, is Malachi Fields our number 2 receiving option? Is Isaiah Likely?
Yes.
Is Malachi Fields our number 3 receiving option right now?
No.
Is it Darius Slayton
or Mooney
or Theo Johnson?
Or
even Cam Scadaboo
or Calvin Austin? Like, I'm serious.
So, I mean, he legitimately, for the assets they gave up to get him, and they're saying they valued him as a second round pick. I don't know if he's even in our top 4 receiving options right now. And that's why I'm saying, like, I'm cautious about how I view his impact year 1. And I think over time you'll see, but maybe they find a role for him quickly, but I don't know. Like, I'm not so sure people think he's going to automatically like dethrone Darius Slayton. I'm thinking how? That's not easy.
I think what you're hoping is that and I don't think it's gonna happen right away at all, is that he can be a Darius Slayton like level player for you on a rookie contract with just a little bit different of a prototype. That's the hope. That's the level of player you're hoping he can get to. Like, which is look,
you're hoping for a lot more than that. I mean, for what you traded for him, you really are aiming for Michael Pittman. That's what you're aiming for, or something along. No, you really are. Round. I mean, look, you're okay, but they came out and said we had a second round grade on him, a high second round grade.
If you get a starter for 4 years, you're happy with that from a 3rd round pick.
What's a good career for him as a Giant? I'm saying for the first 4 years, give me a good career for him where we look back and say that was a good pick.
If he had
forget the trade, that was a good pick.
Yeah, if he had 4 years, 700 yards each year, I would be happy, like Darius Slayton's done.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the number you're looking at. And what do you think the odds are that he kind of levels off around there?
I don't think it's high. I don't think he's going to be a starter in this league. Look, here's the thing. The trade is where you kind of lose me with it, is like, I'm okay. Like, some teams don't care as much about the analytics, and they're okay chasing outliers because they have a vision for a guy. They like the film. Understandable. I like guys more. They liked it more. That's okay. You can take that guy. I don't have to agree with you on the pick. That's totally fine. I don't have to agree with every single pick. But if you're trading 3 picks to move up for a guy, it's going to raise my level of criticism for it. And I don't want low floor guys if you're doing that. I want you to be trading up for a high floor player, or you're confident you're not going to miss on it. Because you miss on him, you miss on 3 picks. And that's where you concern me.
Yeah. All right. I think we're done.
Yeah, let's move on because we can be a lot more positive about the rest of the picks.
Yeah. I mean, this honestly we were having so much fun. And when this pick happened, some of us were just like, we felt so deflated Friday night after this trade up and the pick. And, I think for those who want to hear, I think a higher level of discussion about the kid, not to belittle us, but Steve Smith did a really great review on him on his page. Yeah, look up Steve Smith, the former wide receiver from the Panthers. Look up his YouTube page. He did a phenomenal breakdown of this kid's game, and he had detailed
coaches. Great job.
Like everything about him. Like, it's a long video. It's really worth a watch. So go when you get a chance to watch that. Let's get into his scores. I knew he would be our biggest discussion. Agility, we both gave him a 2, below average agility.
Yeah, for an NFL wide receiver, for his size, you might be able to go 3. He's fluid for his size, certainly. Maybe it's like a little bit higher for his size.
Body control, we both gave him a 4. I think he's very good at that. Hands, you gave him a 4. I gave him a 5. I really liked his hands, both in physicality and the way he attacks the football.
Yeah, I mean, I really like his hands. Around 4 is a great score. He's not winning those contested catch situations is enough for me to give him 5.
We both liked his focus and ball tracking. We both gave him a 4. Long speed, we gave him a 3. Could have gone a little higher. He does pick up momentum. Route running, we both gave him a 2. Release package, you gave him a 2. No, we both gave him a 2. I think on the release package.
Yeah,
and then
Yak release package more than I like the route running.
Yeah, and Yak, we both give him a 3. He actually gets a little bit more Yak than you would expect for a guy like him.
I can see upside. I can see the arrow pointing up on this. I could see him getting more usage as a Yak guy and him being good in that role. I could definitely see that.
I had him graded a slight tick above you, but overall just above about a 3.1 grade. So basically, I think we're being a little generous in some of these things, to be honest. Maybe that's the blue colored glasses, but
and to be fair, a lot of the stuff is traits. Like, a lot of things we grade on is not necessarily like, some of this is like what player you're. A lot of this is traits, and the trait stuff is what brings him up, because that's why you draft him as a prospect.
Yep, and there we are. So we'll see. I mean, I think, again, why I mentioned what I think his production will be is I'm going to defend the kid, because it's not his fault that the Giants traded up to get him. It's not his fault that they took him where they took him or whatever. Although I think he went about where he should have gone. The people will always remember the picks they gave up to trade for him, and they're going to expect more. And I'm just going to say, like, look, if the kid is only putting up, 400, 500 yards at the most or something, and I think, that's actually a good year for him as a rookie, please don't kill this kid. He's going to need time to, I think, ease into his game at the next level. So they're betting on they're taking a big swing here. I just hope the people who are like expecting something more are being a little bit more realistic about what his impact is. I think he has a role in this team. I don't expect it to be a big one. Maybe we're wrong and they have a huge plan for him, but I'm kind of expecting like target number 4 or 5 on this offense.
Yeah. And look, like might have a role. He can be that and also be like, man, this guy's a kick-ass run blocker. He's showing up in certain situations where we need that, and you can see him kicking ass. You can see him being a jump ball guy and making some plays throughout the season that really stands out to you, then get you really excited about this kid. But at the end of the day, it could be wide receiver 4 or 5 with that.
I will say one thing, though, before we close him out. He makes some crazy highlight reel grabs, which is worth mentioning. I mean, his highlights are fun. And I think fans will love him because there's going to be some Monday night game or Sunday night game where he goes up and does some insane shit to bring down a football on a big third down play. And, it doesn't take a lot. Like you do stuff like that, the fans get behind you, right? They will love you for that kind
Johnson
of stuff.
Without the drops. Like Theo Johnson's real cool shit, but then he just drops shit, but he can actually catch. So that's good.
Right. If he does it on big money downs, if he does it in the red zone, he'll have a lot of fans. And I hope that's kind of what I'm looking for this year, right? Forget the production numbers. Give me the big money down, catches that get us the first down. Give me the touchdowns. And I know he didn't produce a lot, but that's what he has to do to really have a successful first season.
Yep. There's a guy like this in every single draft. Usually don't work. Maybe it will this time.
Yep. I'm pulling for the kid. Now I'm over it. I want this kid to become a superstar now, and I'm hoping he hits his upside in every way.
Hey, and we kicked ass in the 6th round. We didn't move any of those picks, so let's get into that.
Let's go to the 6th round. We are how far into this short episode are we?
141.
Only an hour 41. We have 2 hours to go. We got plenty of time.
You were like,
all right,
we'll spoil through this. We'll see.
I don't get up at 5 a.m. every day at all. No. So anyway, so the Giants traded out of the 4th and 5th round, went right to the 6th. We had 3 6th round picks, and we were all a little bit deflated after this. Dude, did they kick ass with these 3 picks? I was so pumped in the 6th round. I've never been this pumped with 6th round picks. In my opinion, they absolutely nailed it with all 3 of these. So let's start with the first one. We know the Giants missed out on D tackles early. I made the argument that, I said, take a corner here. Don't force the D tackle pick. That I don't think that I personally didn't think the D tackles in this class were that much better than like the guys you get today that you're signing, right? Like the veterans you can sign off the street, I don't think are worse than the D tackles you could have drafted. And so I wasn't like that. It didn't bother me that much that we didn't use a premium pick on a D tackle, honestly, in this class. I mean, outside of Peter Woods, I wasn't really thrilled with the rest of the class, in my opinion. I think they were good players, not great. There were guys like Chris McClellan that I hoped to get if we had kept our pick, but he went like a few picks after this kid. In fact, I thought we were trading up to get McClellan. But anyway,
I wouldn't have loved either, but I would have liked more.
But the Giants they turned around and they said, we're going to address this right away on day 3. And they took with their first 6th round pick, Bobby Jamison Travis out of Auburn. So tell us about Bobby Jamison Travis and we'll go from there.
Yeah. I mean, Bobby Jamison Travis was probably my favorite of our picks. Like really, really really helpful guy, really useful player. I mean, that's the best way to describe him is, we went through a lot of these interior defensive linemen and I didn't see this gigantic gap between him and these top guys. He certainly has some things that he lacked, but I thought he was a useful player for a big program. I mean, he played in the SEC. I thought he generated like good pushback power and could collapse the pocket with his bull rush. That's not something I saw as much from every single guy. I thought he had a really like wide, sturdy base. He used his arm extension well. Thought he stacked and shedded in the run game phenomenally. I thought I didn't love his hands as a pass rusher. He doesn't really offer anything as a pass rusher, to be honest with you, outside of maybe a bull rush. But I did like his hands as a run defender. I thought he could throw these guys off and make a play, and I thought he was a phenomenal tackler. I thought a guy who had some range and could grab once he got a hand on you, he could bring you down. I thought he had a good first step. I thought he had above average mobility for his size. Like he's certainly enough to play the position. He's not like this crazy athlete, but I saw some really nice flashes laterally from him. Let's see. But yeah, my overall knocks, I mentioned I didn't like his pass rush arsenal. Just really was not there. He just did not have a plan, did not have anything in the bag really. His hand usage just needs to develop more and more. I'll say he can struggle to hold up against double teams more than like some of these top guys. When I'm talking about like the gap, that's one thing I certainly noticed. Like for as strong as he is and the pushback power he can get, he definitely could get eaten up by double teams a little bit more than like a Caden McDonald or these guys. That's where you start to see the difference, in my opinion, outside the pass rush. But yeah, I mean, really outside of the pass rush, I did not have many knocks on this guy. Where were you?
I love this pick, especially for where we got him. So a little background on him. He turned 25 yesterday. Happy belated birthday to Bobby, Jameis, and Travis, by the way. So he's an older prospect. He was a JUCO kid out of Minneapolis, spent 2 years at Western Iowa as a community college, was the third highest ranked JUCO kid transferring out that year. Goes to Auburn, spends 3 full years, so used up all his eligibility. Didn't play much his first year at Auburn, and then he built up. Every year he got better and more impactful, and he had a pretty big year this year. Some people have attributed that to him just being a grown man going up against kids. I think a lot of that is just natural progression at the collegiate level, going from JUCO to the SEC and then just getting better every year is a good sign. His tape, I mean, I don't have to go through all of it. You mentioned it. He's really good at what he does. He's a two-gapper. He's a run defender. He knows his job. This is not a person who pretends he's out there to rush the passer. He's out there to drive the pocket back a little bit and to basically eat blocks. And he does a good job of keeping his head on a swivel and following the ball carrier. And I think he does a pretty decent job of shedding and getting to the ball carrier. Nick Filato had a nice little breakdown of his. If anybody hasn't watched it, he's a pretty like long person, from foot to head. And he does a great job of anchoring himself in such a way where his body between his legs to his upper body is occupying the whole two gaps. And he's able to kind of use that leverage to just take away, vision and running lanes for the running back. And he uses it to his advantage. Like he'll have his leg in one gap, he'll have his body in the other. He's pushing guys back and he can shed and make a play on the ball. When you hear him talk about things in whatever interviews, he understands that his job is to basically do exactly what I'm saying and basically let his linebackers do the rest of the work behind him. And he's a nose tackle that is there to stop the run and to let the elite players behind him, and the Giants do have elite linebackers behind him now, do the rest. And I think that's phenomenal. I think that's a great find. There were some concerns about his ability to finish his pro day because of conditioning. I don't know how much of an impact that is. I don't know the details of him that day. I will say that I don't expect this guy to be like a 50-60% snap guy. I think you're looking at, I hope we sign DJ Reader, but whoever our starting nose tackle is, I think this is the guy who comes in for the 20 to 30% of snaps behind him. That's his role, at least the first year or two. And then you see with NFL conditioning and strength training, if he becomes a guy that you might give more snaps to later. But as a rotational nose tackle who just comes in to be a lunch pail guy and stop the run, I think he's outstanding value where we got him.
Yeah. Look, he doesn't offer like anything as a pass rusher, but it's hard to be higher as a run stopper at this point in the draft, especially. Like, I mean, this is a guy who the numbers back it up. PFF had him with the second highest run stop percentage in the entire class in the interior defensive line, only behind Caden McDonald and ahead of Lee Hunter. That's some great. I think it's a great name to be associated with there. And you could see it. Like, look, he's not the guy who's going to take his player toss him to the side, be open, and bash a guy in the backfield, but he's gonna get a steady pushback. And the second he gets an opportunity, and he can work laterally with his guys, so he'll get his push and he'll shed and make his play. I mean, that he's always there. Pass rush, he's kind of just stuck at the if it's a pass play, he's kind of just there at the line, working. Not you don't see much, but run. That's where you want him. He's a 2-down player, but that's what most nose tackles are, man.
He gives you everything he's got for those 2 downs.
Mm-hmm.
He's really sizable. Let's get to his graves. His grades. Let's not do the other thing. Strength. We both gave him a 4. Mm-hmm. Leverage. I really like the way he anchored and used low man, right? For a guy his size, low man.
Shot out low, wide base, extended his arms, puts himself in a fantastic position.
Almost teaching tape, right? For for a zero tech guy, like just really excellent use of leverage. So both gave him a 4. Jump and explosiveness. I thought he was pretty good.
I couldn't give him a 4, but he was quick.
I thought about it. He times the snap very well.
He's just not gonna like jump a gap on you. He's not gonna do that. But as far as like
which is why I couldn't give him a 4. But he gets off the snap quick. He gets his hands inside the center fast, and he gets his anchor set very quickly. And I think for what he's meant to do, he does an outstanding job with the jump. Hand usage, you gave him a 2. I gave him a 3. I want to hear why you gave him a 2.
Yeah, I struggled with this one because I thought his hand usage was pretty much non-existent as a pass rusher, and that's where I'm mostly
pass rusher. Gotcha.
Yeah, mostly giving him a hit. And I do think his hands can improve in the run game. It's not an issue there. It's certainly a 3 in the run. Like I would no issue with giving him a 3 there, but it's close to a 1 as far as a pass rusher. So.
Okay. Balance, quickness, we both gave him a 3. Balance, we both gave him a 3. And tackling, we both gave him a 4. Really, he had like 30 tackles this year. Really did a good job. Overall, he came in at around a 3.35, 3.4 grade for us. So that's actually like a solid grade for a 6th-round defensive tackle. The Giants did really well to get excellent value here. I think he's going to be a player for us. The tape at the SEC level suggests a guy who's going to come in and really produce for us in his limited role. I don't expect him to be more than like a 30% snap share guy year 1. I'd be kind of surprised if he got more. It means somebody got hurt or they screwed up in free agency. But assuming he's in that role, I think he's going to be like a guy where whoever the starter is, when he comes off the field, it's not going to be like in the past when Dexter Lawrence came off into the field and somebody else came in. It was just a disaster. I don't think it's going to be like that at all. I think we're going to be able to hold up the point of attack here.
Yep.
Let's go to the next guy in the 6th round. Or their next 6th-round pick. This was the pick that had me most excited.
Yeah, it's your guy.
This is my guy, G-Kit's guy. I don't know if D-Kit's still awake. He said he was going to go clean out his garage. But the next guy is a guy I was talking a lot before the draft, and I was excited about him. The Giants had a 30 visit. Was J.C. Davis, offensive tackle out of Illinois. And J.C. Davis was a guy that I had zeroed in on because, number one, the Giants did a 30 on him, but also we discussed this as like the day 3 value guys, right? What do you look for on day 3 to find value? We did this in the pod before the draft. And I said, day 3 strategy, I think one of the strategies to find real value are guys who are playing out of position at the collegiate level, meaning they're playing a position at the collegiate level well, but they don't necessarily project to be that at the NFL level. But at the NFL level, if you take their traits, you take their film, their athletic testing, you can project a much better player with a position move. And I think one of the best examples of that is guys who go from tackle to guard. And that's mainly because I think at the collegiate level, your best players, your best athletes are put at tackle. If you're an offensive lineman, if you're just the best, you're going to be the left tackle. That's how it is. And a lot of those guys are good, but they're not going to be quick enough, or will have the arm length or the strength to hold up, whatever it is at tackle in the NFL. But if those guys had played guard at the collegiate level, they probably would have whooped ass at a much higher degree. And I think they would be going a lot higher. Again, shout out Bobby Skinner. He talked about this where he said, first round specifically, first round guards who are guards often bust, and first round tackles who become guards often become Pro Bowlers. And I think he's onto something there. Guys who convert, can translate at a high level. I think the same is true on day 3. You get real value here. So I loved him for that reason. I think he projects as a great guard.
Yeah. No, I liked him. I really like him as a pass protector. That's where I really saw his strengths were. I thought he had, he had slower feet for a tackle. Don't get me wrong, and that's where I think he moving into guard will help him a lot. But despite that, I thought he mirrored like phenomenally. He's like even the speed rushers, like you watch him going against Abdul, like he did a good job mirroring him and playing them. Really, where I saw most of his issues, as a pass protector was more against like more powerful guys. You saw a little bit with Arvell Reese watching it. It's not that he can't handle the power. He has a good anchor, but he has some balance issues, and those guys can toss him and get him off balance. And that's where there's some worry. There definitely some balance concerns there. I think he uses arm length well to maintain separation. He uses torque a lot. You can, sometimes his hands can get a little bit outside the shoulder pads, but it's because he's a big torque guy. He's got to be a little careful. He uses it as a pass protector. He uses it as a run blocker. I don't love him as a run blocker, but he gets the job done. I think a lot of that is the torque. Is he torque guy and open the gap. I don't see him as much of a people mover, and I think I don't love him in space. He doesn't look quite natural to me personally, but I really like him as a pass protector. I think he's very, very smart against stunts and twists. Just looks really technically sound. Looks really comfortable as a pass protector.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. There are some differences I have in my view of him. I actually think he's a better run blocker than maybe you're saying. I don't know if there's a huge difference. I do agree that he uses torque really well. He does, that's the negative on him very quickly. His footwork as a tackle leaves a little bit to be desired. I think speed edges, you saw Vincent Anthony from Duke really, take his lunch because he's just too fast for him. And okay, well, if you're not playing tackle, who cares, right? I think as guard,
his face easily, which is good.
No,
like they can get around him, but he's not. He mirrors well,
and that's what I wanted to talk about. Like he's got exceptional IQ as an interior blocker. Like when he was asked to basically pick up stunts and twists, very good at picking that stuff up, taking away the inside rush. If you watch him, gave up the outside rush, but he very rarely allowed the straight path to his quarterback. Like he was very good at protecting his inside shoulder, and always good picking up stunts and twists. Again, I think the footwork, the lateral agility and footwork as a tackle left a little to be desired, and you can see that being a problem at the NFL level. But you put him in a phone booth, and that stuff goes away. So then the only criticism is, does he have the anchor strength, in a phone booth to play guard at the NFL level, which is a fair question. But I don't think he doesn't. I think he's plenty strong. I think he's the kind of guy, like when you see him on the reps where he actually plays more like a guard and he fires off in run blocking into a guard, you see just dominant strength sometimes, like just dominant, like his ability to get his hands inside people's chest, torque them, and he just drives them to the ground. So
yeah,
I see a pretty high level guard upside here. I don't think this is like a project guard. I think this is a guy who's
a 4-year starter.
Yeah, I think honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if they let him compete at guard and guard alone early in camp if he doesn't start raising eyebrows at how good he is. I can see him dominating. He's going to start on third team. I can see him dominating third team, moving up a second team. I can see him dominating second team. And then he's in the conversation of like, should he be a guy that competes for a starting job? Now, I don't think he'll get a starting job.
I hope we don't see him this year. It would be nice to redshirt a guy for once.
Look, the left guard position is, in my opinion, up for grabs. It's pretty clear Francis Mauigoa is the likely right guard at this point. I don't think we have a center that we're replacing JMS with just yet. I don't expect that right now. John Runyon has got, he's got an $11 million cap hit, $9 million of which you can free up by trading or cutting him. He's a 290-pound guard. He's sticking out like a sore thumb on this line full of monsters now. And he's a decent pass blocker, nothing special. He's okay. He's like an average pass blocker. He's a liability in the run game. I don't think he can work duo very well. I don't think he can run power gap very well. A lot of the stuff that you would think Greg Roman's going to implement, I just don't think John Runyon's a good fit. Now you have guys on the roster who are going to compete with him who are cheaper, like Falele, and I don't want to hear it, but is John Runyon $9 million a year better than Daniel Falele? You know what I mean?
I think if they didn't think that, they would have made that decision when they could have replaced him.
I think they were waiting to see what happened in the draft, and I suspect
Two
there's going
guard
to be.
positions.
I think that's an open competition, honestly. And again, the reason I bring it up now is if it's an open competition and you got a bunch of guys on vet minimum, the rookie has a shot to at least show what he's worth.
Mhm.
Now, I agree with you. He's probably not going to start, but he's a guy that I think projects as a starting guard. And I think I think that a good shot of being our starting left guard in the not so distant future. I'll put it that way.
I think he can be competing in 2026. I don't see John Runyon losing the job personally. I think if it was a cap thing, they would have done that already. And I'm not a fan of that. I was for cutting him.
Yeah, what if Francis takes over left guard? They have open competition record. Yeah, absolutely. Like they didn't. I don't think John Harbaugh specifically said which guard position they saw him at, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think he said guard. I don't know if he said right guard. I don't recall. Maybe he did, but it's possible that they move Francis to left guard and then right guard is where you have the opening. Who knows, right? But the point is, like, I think that there are a lot of possibilities right now. Davis is a guy, I agree with you. It's unlikely you will see him play as a starter, but we'll get into his grading. We talked about his scouting report. He's 330 pounds. He's a lot stronger than people are giving credit for because I think people are grading him with, how he plays as a tackle. You watch him in the refs where he plays on the more of like an interior blocker. I think this guy is going to be one of our best interior blockers very soon, and it's going to be obvious. And if they're really fair about it, he'll get a shot. Anyway, let's get into the grading.
Yeah, that's
I'm
great.
just saying they'll give it a shot. Play strength and anchor. We both gave him a 3.
Yep.
We're grading him as a tackle here. We probably should grade him as an interior alignment, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Do the same thing we do with Francis.
Sure.
Explosiveness and the power of attack. You gave him a 2. I gave him a 3. And I think this is because I'm mixing the interior, exterior stuff, interior tackle stuff.
Me personally, I think he has good torque, but I don't think he's not driving these guys off the ball enough for me.
Fair enough. Athleticism 3. Hand usage, we both like it with the torque and stuff 4.
Yeah.
Pass blocking, you both give him a 4. You give him a run blocking 2. I disagree with you. I'm giving him a 4 on run blocking. I think he's a very good run blocker.
Yeah, I didn't like his run blocking at all. I thought he looked really uncomfortable working to the next level. I thought he didn't really get any push. He torqued. He was able to open lanes, but I don't think you can just rely on torquing in the NFL.
Size and frame, we both gave him a 4. You gave him a 2 on body control. I gave him a 3. I know where you're coming from. There's a tendency for him to. Yeah, and there's a little bit of a tendency to leave with his head at times. I agree with.
And he just didn't have a lot of balance.
Our average score came out to 3.25. I was higher than you were, but I mean, again, that's averaging out to like a starter level guard. Or alignment.
Really good for a 6th-round pick. A guy who I think could develop into a potential starter one day. I'm just not.
And to be fair, that's how I think they view him. Mm-hmm. Okay. Can we do his scoring as an interior offensive lineman just real quick? So let me just see here. Did you add him here?
I'm doing it right now.
Okay. All right. He's going to be right below that.
Yep.
So play strength and anchor. I would give him a 4 here as an interior lineman.
I would stick 3 personally.
All right. Explosiveness to the point of attack 3.
Yep.
Athleticism 3. Techniques and hands, I would say 4 here. Pass blocking, I would give him a 4 here. Run blocking, again, I'd give him a 4 personally, especially on the interior. I get what you're saying. You don't like it.
Yeah, I would still stick 2, but
okay. Size and frame, I would say he's a pretty good size for a guard. He's a 4.
I would say 4.
Yeah. Balance and body control, I think you're lower on him. I think on the interior, I don't see the issues. So I'm at least a 3, I would say.
Yeah, I could be argued up to a 3. I'm gonna stick my 2.
So I'm higher on him again. We have similar grades here. Actually, grades are pretty similar, almost identical.
I think it's the exact thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's 3 for 3.5 again.
Any way you slice it, we're grading a 6th-round pick as a guy who has the potential to work his way into a starting role. That's a great 6th-round pick.
Yep. It's not. I'm not like as high as I was about like Marcus Bowe in the 5th round, which felt like an absolute steal. But I'm very happy with JC Davis as a 6th round pick.
I love picks like this, man, because if you miss, who cares? It's a 6th round pick.
Yeah.
But if you get anything out of this guy, even if you get a swing guard and a backup guard for years to come who you can rely on, it's a home run pick in the 6th round.
I'll say this. This is what I will say. I don't think it's that high of a take. I think of these 3 guys, we got one more to go over. One of these guys will be a starter for this team, a multi-year starter.
It's probably this guy. If you're looking at it, I think he's the most likely to be a multi-year starter, followed by Bobby.
I'd probably bet Bobby, but yeah, JC Davis is certainly, and the next guy certainly has a case too, but probably last of the 3.
I don't think the next guy's a starter, but he's going to be fun. People will like him. Let's go through him. Last guy, as we close in on, what are we up to now? 2 hours only, guys.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for the short episode. All right, last guy. Final pick. The Giants took linebacker Jack Kelly from BYU. I think he's gonna be a fan favorite. He's a lunatic. He's just a maniac running around, crazy motor. We don't have to go through a huge scouting report on him.
Kelly.
Yeah, Sack Kelly flies around the football field looking for something to hit. Very good athlete. I think he's a bet on traits, kind of almost like an elite athlete at linebacker, which is something that you'd like to bet on
From an RS standpoint, for sure.
Yeah, from a testing perspective, and you can see aspects of it in his game. He's very
his
fast.
Pass rush for sure.
Pass rush is great. He's very rangy. Like he can fly sideline to sideline. Just doesn't know where he's going half the time.
Yeah, I didn't see it enough, but I think that's probably partially not knowing where he's going. We'll get into that.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought there were enough reps or like in coverage, or he had recovery speed and he could carry guys backwards. And but again, like he has the athletic ability, but he does not have, in my opinion, the football IQ to use it properly. He's kind of like. Yeah, somebody described him as like Cam Scatterbu at linebacker. You don't want your linebackers to be like mentally retarded, so it's just. I disagree. I don't think he's slow.
He plays slow in run defense, which is very strange for how good of an athlete he is.
I don't think he has good instincts in the run game.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's more of an instinct thing, but he doesn't trust himself or something. Yeah, I mean, so let's get into the positives first. Let's what do we like about him? We love him as a blitzer for sure, right?
Yeah, he's a pretty good blitzer. That's his calling card. He had a lot of sacks. He comes across as a good, he's good in coming forward and taking on the quarterback. That's really kind of his superpower.
Very high motor, getting after the quarterback. He's much more instinctive as a pass rusher, being able to kind of like work his stunts and his twists, and he's like he can blow up a running back as they're trying to pick him up. Like he's too strong for these guys. Yep. That's where he's strong. And one thing I will say outside of the pass rush, we can get into some of where what thoughts about his man coverage, but I thought he had pretty good feel. He looked pretty decently comfortable at zone coverage.
Yeah, he was fine. I didn't see anything special there.
But he didn't look uncomfortable, which is not something I could say about a lot of other things.
Yeah, I mean, like we can get into the scoring, and we were probably very generous in the scoring, to be honest. When I looked at it, I just don't think this is like to me, he's a special teamer, right? I think he's a guy that he's going to be a lot of fun on special teams. I can see him flying down the field because of the way he plays and getting a nice big hit on a returner. And fans get really pumped up about that kind of stuff. I think that's his game. I think he sticks on your team as a special teamer. Personally, I don't really want to see this guy on the field during the games. Like on defense, I really don't want to get him on the field. I don't like his
unless
game.
You're just using him as a blitzer, and this is a rookie year. He could develop. Certainly could develop. But right now, yeah, I think he lacks. He's not showing the instincts and feel against the run game. He's not a stack and shed guy. He needs to work on his tackling.
His tackling sucks.
His tackling sucks.
It sucks.
if he's here and the running back's here, game over. He's getting by. He doesn't.
Well, not just that. There are plenty of plays where he actually makes the right read and he gets in perfect position to tackle somebody, and he lunges, he goes high, and then he loses control of his base, and he's like flopping, and guys are just like running through him because of that. Like it's just not a good tackling.
Unless he's coming downhill. If he's coming downhill, he might be able to make a play. But if he's
I forgot the number. I didn't pull up his stats. I think he had a terribly high missed tackle rate, if I'm not mistaken. Right, it was like in the 20s or something like that. It was something crazy.
Find it.
I can look it up, but yeah, you go ahead.
But yeah, I was definitely, after watching the highlights, I was excited for this guy, somebody who I thought we might have found a steal, and maybe we did, but yeah, right now I mostly just see it as a blitzer, and
22.4% missed tackles, and it got worse every single year. That was his last year. Last year was 19.4. The year before that, 16.9. His first year was 8.7. He's gotten worse as a tackler every single year. That's phenomenal.
Yeah. Oh, the one thing I'll say too about his man coverage, he has the athleticism to carry these guys, but he doesn't get his head around, doesn't look natural doing it.
He's fun.
He's fun.
He's fun. He plays like a crazy person. People will like him.
I'm confident he'll be a good special teamer.
When I say he's fast, I mean like in an athletic testing way. Like when he moves quick. But I don't think he knows. Yeah, downhill he's fast. I don't think he's he's slow to make a read. He's slow. His instincts are not the best. And ultimately the play speed ends up looking slow because of that. I don't think he's a very instinctive linebacker. If you're bringing him in on a blitz package and saying, look, your only job is to fly downhill and try to take the head off the quarterback, I think he does that well. Right.
Mm-hmm. And I think he can get to a place where he's got to get his tackling up before you really put him on the field. To be honest, that's number one. If you can't tackle, you can't put him on the field. But if he can fix his tackling, I think he can get a place where you can play him.
If a linebacker can fix his tackling, that's like saying if a wide receiver can fix his catching, All right.
Well, like that's terrible. Teach him a rugby tackle or something. We'll work on it. But I think that there's enough upside as a zone coverage guy that you could do a zone, you could do a blitz and be able to trick people more on like those situations. But he's not. I don't see him. I would struggle to see this guy developing to a 3-down linebacker. But
I have to be honest. After we draft him, the highlights are always he's fun. He's another highlight guy, right? Mm-hmm. I was kind of excited to watch his tape. I watched his tape, and then I wish I hadn't watched his tape. Just not a guy.
We didn't talk about this guy at all before, so I wasn't sure if I was gonna be an island. And yours seem like you're even lower than me. So
I last pick of the 6th round special team player. I think he's going to be a very good special teams player. I really do.
I'd much rather make this pick than Darius Musa. He's much more exciting, much higher chance to actually contribute.
100%. I'm more than happy to kick Darius Musa off his team and replace him with this guy. And Musa can join Gabriel in Arizona, which is where he's going anyway.
I don't want to see him on the field, but I'd rather force him on the field than we had to force Musa, because at least he does something. At least he could do something well.
Yeah. Again, people are gonna love him, and they're gonna yell at us like, see in preseason. They're gonna love the guy, and he's gonna be a fan favorite. I'm gonna like him. I enjoy guys like this. I'm just saying we're grading him as a linebacker, not as a special teamer. Right? As a linebacker, I don't love the guy. But there is something to be said about guys who play with their hair on fire like this, and they have a role. So let's grade him.
That motor is nice. We'll see. We'll see what they can develop with this guy.
Let's grade him real quick and get this shit over with. So actually, we graded him generously. Now I'm looking at it. Athleticism, you gave him a 3, and I gave him a 4. I did this honestly, dude, based on testing. And I shouldn't have done that, but I gave him the testing benefit here.
Yeah, I saw it in pass rush, but I did not see a sideline to sideline backer. I mean, I think a lot of that is just feel. He didn't go sideline to sideline. I never see him go sideline to sideline. He just comes downhill at some point and should be on sideline.
He does a lot of running. It's fine.
Yeah.
Even if he's not running to the right place, it's okay. So strength and durability, You gave him a 4. I gave him a 3 here. He is strong. I probably could have gone a little higher.
Yeah, I mean he comes downhill and people can't handle him easily.
Instincts and IQ, we both give him a 2. I was unimpressed with his IQ here and his instincts in the run game. I thought he was always a tick slow.
Yeah, honestly, I'm changing. He's 1.
Yeah, I'm gonna change. Yeah,
he's
1.
I mean, look, think about how we grade this. We go practice squad, backup, starter, Pro Bowl, Hall of Fame. Where would you put his instincts on that?
Yeah, he's practice squad. You're right. I gotta go to 1.
It's a 6th-round pick. We're not used to using like 1s because we're talking.
We don't barely grade players like that. Yeah, I know.
But like when you're talking about 6th-round pick, you got to use 1s because they are practice squad guys.
Yeah, then a lot of these grades are going down. All right.
Yeah,
coverage grade. I'm giving him a 2.
Yeah, he is decent zone, but his man isn't like he doesn't get his head around, but he's backup. He's not a starter.
Blitzing and pressure. You gave him a 5. I could have given him a 5 here. That's his superpower. I gave him a 4.
I'm going to change that to 4. He's not.
Yeah, I don't think he's like a lead at it. He's just good at it.
Very good.
Tackling. I'm going to change my grade down to a 1.
Yeah, I'm with you. See, we're talking through this. God, that's mean, but yeah, you're right. We were too generous.
Block shedding 2. I think that's fair. So he grades out at a 2.42. So that's a barely NFL level player, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's strong. He can blitz.
He's strong. He's strong and he likes to blitz. And I think that's cool.
If you can get his tackling up to at least backup level, that I feel a lot better.
He's a bad tackler who takes bad angles and has bad IQ as a linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's not a linebacker. Ultimately, that's not a linebacker. I don't know what he is. He's a special teamer.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Use him more.
Here's the upside.
Yeah.
In special teams, in kick coverage, all of the shit we're talking about doesn't matter. Because he's flying 100 miles down the field.
You can tackle going downhill like that. That's not a 1 downhill. Right. That's a 2 or a 3 downhill.
It might be a freaking 5 coming downhill, right? Seriously,
tackling. Yeah.
If he's just flying at the ball carrier down the field and not thinking about anything else, right? No responsibilities, no coverage. Just get there as fast as you can and hit the shit out of the dude. He could be a really great player on special teams, and I think that's his role. I think he's going to be a really good special teamer, like a high quality special teamer who will find his way onto the roster because of that ability. Now he's going to have to show it in preseason and earn it, but I can see that being his pathway to being on the team. I think I like him 1,000 times more than Darius Mauigoa simply because of that explosiveness as a hitter, and special teams specifically in that value. But I actually think Darius Mauigoa is a better linebacker than him. If you really want to be honest,
maybe
like his overall linebacking ability, I think is better for Mauigoa. And I don't think much of Mauigoa.
Yeah, I would rather the things that he does do well to Mauigoa just being bad at everything.
I'm going to finally give Jabri his due here. Is this your Shiloh Sanders agenda forming in the shape of Jack Kelly? Absolutely. What Jabri is getting at it. You bring in you bring in Jack Kelly against our division rival quarterbacks on a special on a down, and you say your job is to behead them. Whether it's Daniels or Dak or whoever, his job is to kill somebody. And I can see him just being like a guy who would give up his entire career for that one hit. So that's Jack Kelly.
This guy's a 6th-round pick, and he's supposed to be a 2nd-round pick, but he's a fun 6th-round pick. Maybe you can he fits like that Joker kind of role, like that we're gonna eventually do with Arvell Reese. He's just not nearly as talented. Like if you can develop, maybe he can be a guy who can play some of that and give you some guys a breath. Not this year, but maybe down the road. He offers that combination between pass rush and like the ability to play linebacker. That kind of needs work on that part, but we'll see. He's a 6th-round pick. You're going to hope he develops, and he's going to be a special team guy in the meantime.
Yeah. All right, that's it. I don't have the energy to go through the depth chart stuff. I'll be honest. Today. We had a long episode going through all these players.
That's what we do.
We will have a depth chart episode. We'll have to break it up and go into like depth chart review. Maybe it'll give us more time to see if we can actually sign DJ Reader. Hopefully.
We should plug we're going on Talking Giants.
Oh yeah. So quickly before you go, hit the like button, please. Subscribe to He's a Giant Pod on YouTube. Help us grow. You guys are awesome. You're here every week. Spread the word if you can. You know how to follow us. You can follow us at He's a Giant Pod. Follow me at Queens_guy. Follow Monty at MONTECRI5DO. Tomorrow we will be on. Actually, no.
Show comes out Monday.
I think on Monday or Tuesday of next week, we're going to be on with Justin Pennick on Talking Giants to talk about the draft. So be on the lookout for that episode next week. I think we're recording tomorrow.
If I'm recording tomorrow, I think comes out Monday. Yeah.
So next week, be on the lookout for that episode. Any other closing thoughts before we shut this down?
Oh man. I'm excited to break into this 2027 class. How about that? I'm already looking at these players like, damn, this is gonna be a fun year.
I'm not ready to do this right now.
I'm already ready.
I look. I still need. I am one Infinity Stone away from my Fat Boy Summer Gauntlet being completed. And that stone is just DJ Reader. I've got all of them here. I'm like Thanos trying to kill Vision right now. I just need to kill Vision and take it out of his head. And that's what DJ Reader is for me. So I need that Infinity Stone. I can't feel complete. I really believe this team is going to be good, like competitive, winning games. But we need that freaking fat ass in the middle of the defense, and it's driving me crazy that it's not done yet. And if we don't get it done, it's all the more reason I want Joe Shane's head on a freaking spike.
Yeah, but we'll get it done. You can start looking at Stone from Oklahoma.
All right, man. I can look at David Stone anyway. DT1, by the way. I can look at him anyway for next year, but I want my fat ass for this team right now. So that's what I'm hoping we have by next week. Next week, we will do our depth chart and roster review, and hopefully we have some free agency additions that we can break into. Until then, thank you guys as always for being here. We will see you next week. And until then, go Giants.
Go Giants.